What is your name, please?
My name is Ted Geiser.
Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss.
We'll try to catch him if we can.
He's out there on the loose. Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss. I know that we will find him. It'll be a cinch. We'll ask the Grinch.
Ask the Grinch.
Soon he'll be within our reach. Ask the snitchers on the bench. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are games to be won. I said, oh, the places you'll go.
You're off to great places. Today is your day.
Your mountain is waiting.
So get on your way.
Oh, the places we'll go. In search of Dr. Seuss. The places we'll go. Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss.
Free your mind.
Don't lag behind.
And fun is what you choose.
Come along with me in search of Dr. Seuss. Maybe we can find him if we ask the cat.
Ask the cat.
In the hat. In the hat.
We'll search high. And we'll search low.
Oh, the places we will go.
Hello. Is this the home of Dr. Seuss?
Everyone is just waiting. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, the phone to ring, the snow to snow. Waiting around for a yes or a no, or just waiting for their hair to grow.
Everyone is just waiting. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting around for a Friday night. A string of pearls, a pair of pants, a wig with coils, or another chance.
But that's not for you.
By George, I think you're right.
Pas-de-deux.
I'd love to.
Oh, the places you'll go, there is fun to be done, and there are games to be won. I said, oh, the places you'll go.
Oh? Oh, the places I'll go, I'll be seeing great sights. I'll soar to high heights. I said, oh, 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 the places I'll
Sadly, it's true.
What?
That bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you.
No.
You'll come down from a ledge with an unpleasant bump.
Ouch.
And the chances are then you're gonna be in a slump.
And when I'm in a slump, I'm not in for much fun. Unslumping myself is very difficult. Well, it's not easily done. Oh, the places I'll go.
You'll be missed at the best. You tap out a rest.
I said, the places I'll go.
On you will go, though the weather be foul. Onward, up many a frightening creek.
Though my arms may get sore.
And your sneakers may leak.
Ew, but will I succeed?
Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed.
Oh!
Bros at 3, and I don't mean a 747.
Kickball change. Thought I'm a dancer dances on!
You're off to great places. Today is your day.
My mountain is waiting!
So get on your way. Oh, the places it'll go.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Chud Watch. Today we're going to be talking about, well...
I am Sam. Sam I am. I am Sam. Sam I am. Do you like green eggs and ham?
I do not like them, Sam. I do not like green eggs and ham.
Would you like them here or there?
I would not like them anywhere.
Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse?
Not with a mouse. I would not eat them.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Dr. Seuss, along with some other stuff. But Dr. Seuss is going to be a big one, okay?
A train. Would you on a train?
Can we discuss the cancellation of Hot Animal Ladies? The Lola Bunny situation is a situation that I'm keeping my eye on very closely. Do you know the amount of Rule 34 Lola Bunny I've had to look at intently over the past
Could you in the rain?
15 years in order to prepare for this cancellation? It's preparation, even if you don't know. Kirthan, thanks for subscribing with 6 months. Commissar, Anarcho Fox, thanks for subscribing with 2 months. I'm trying to get everything, I'm sorry. Colston in 20-bit says, Tesla under 600 is my life fuel. I have a feeling that Tesla will get removed from the S&P 500 one day soon. That'd be funny. Ashley Annie 67, thank you for subscribing with 2 months. Ooh, wow. I think we're doing a hype train. SBSOCT, thanks for subscribing with the 2-month streak. Logarth the 20-bit says, ooh, ha 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 ha. Mike Max 321. So the Trump thing was a lie? Who would have guessed? I don't know what that is about. Turns out Seuss never left his dying wife. I'm pretty sure he cheated on his wife who had cancer and she killed herself because of it. Which we're gonna talk about. Krizia, thank you for gifting 10 subs to the community. Much appreciated. Fairly CC, thanks for subscribing with a 3 months. Woo, it's been 3 months already, apparently. The stream wouldn't lie to me. Daddy Sume with 20 bits. F, I hate Sam I Am. Everyone makes that joke about my name, but I love that lady from Hocus Pocus. She's like a Labrador version of a person. DM Trey asks, how's your day going? Pretty good. Thanks for asking. Hope yours is going well too. Bellstar with 100 bits says, enhance the chuddery. We're at 50% of level 4 already on the hype train. Nice. These are all from a special that happened in like the 90s about Dr. Seuss, by the way, in case you're curious. I rented this thing from the video store, the VHS tape, probably about 100 times. Prizia, thanks for subscribing. Wowzers, at tier 2, it's 6 months in advance. Jesus Christ. Thank you. It's good. You have much confidence in my ability to be entertaining for the next half of a year. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, everything great was made in the 90s. Nothing of note has been made since. I don't know. The 9/11 jokes have been pretty lit. So that's just a cringy edgelord joke. No. There's plenty of good shit that's happened since the 90s. Twitch was made recently, there would be no Hannah Reloaded. That's true. It goes 9/11 jokes, the Marvel movies, me. You're welcome. Jeff Millart says, there's a YouTube video by Solar Sands called... The Secret Darker Arts of Dr. Seuss, some racist cartoons at 2:55. Yeah, we're gonna look at some of the racist Dr. Seuss stuff. There's a super straight sub. Nope, not going there. I don't even want to dignify that shit with a segment on this show. It's how stupid the super straight thing is. SBS OCT with 100 bits says, I was made in the 90s. Not everything from that time period is great. Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare. DM Trey, thanks for gifting 10 subs to the community. Much appreciated. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, damn, channeling OG Hugo, yeah, OG H&J. I'm not gonna say my own thing, but I almost did. And I feel dirty now. Enreath with 100 bits, thank you. Super straight is super stupid. Yeah. God, my hair looked so good yesterday, and it doesn't today. I feel like it looks worse on this new camera. I don't know. Profane Priestess with 25 bits says, to be fair to Seuss, he publicly denounced a lot of those cartoons and books later in life. Yes, I agree. Dr. Seuss also did a lot of good anti-fascist like cartoons and stuff during World War II. Unfortunately, because of the nature of World War II propaganda, a lot of that shit was also racist. Which is a shame. Like this song in particular, Yertle the Turtle, which is based on his book, Yertle the Turtle, or that might have been part of an actual short story collection by him. I'm not positive. It is about, like, anti-fascism for children, which is a good thing. But, you know, Dr. Seuss, far from a perfect guy. I don't know. We'll talk about when we get to the actual Dr. Seuss segment. I grew up with Dr. Seuss, so I like Dr. Seuss, but I also recognize that he is a imperfect human being, and that a lot of his shit, even he thought aged very poorly. TYY with 100 bits says, getting in on the hype train. Yeah, we did 176% of the hype train. That's Professor Hat worthy. Plus it'll cover up my hair, so that's a bonus. I never know what to do with my bangs when I put a hat on, you know? Is there a trick to hats with bangs? Do I just tuck it in? And then I get a little bit sticking out. I don't know. When you mimicked Ben Shapiro, it almost sounded like you were rapping. Yep, that's me. Super, super smooth with the raps. Hippity hip hop. Hippity hip hop. Hippin' hoppin'. Bippity boppity. Something zoppity. If you guys wanted to watch this in search of Dr. Seuss, it's on YouTube in its entirety, by the way. I'm not going to say it's good, but it's nostalgic and very 90s, and has the best live-action depiction of the Cat in the Hat, which is played by the same guy that played Max Headroom. Panda Man 1994 says, here, and Pyromancer 56 says, I'm ready for Chuds. Welcome. I'm ready for Chuds, too.
Religious, racial, right, and social injustice. In his younger days, he did this through his political cartoons using the sledgehammer approach.
I like this. What is this about?
This is one of his political cartoons from PM Magazine, an attack on Hitler's racism. So that cartoon was to one day become the Sneetches. Over here, please.
Yeah, which is interesting, too. And this goes into the Sneetches story. If you don't know, the Sneetches story is a big thing against racism, which is great. It's just interesting that Dr. Seuss ended up, you know, making depictions like this. Like, oh. But again, we'll discuss this on the Dr. Seuss segment. I do not like the... Okay, I like the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat movie, but not as a Cat in the Hat movie. Does that make sense? Does my camera look all dotty to you? Like, does it look weird? Like there's lines everywhere and it's, like, spotty? I probably have to change some settings. Maybe I have the brightness up too bright on this. I don't know. It looks fine. Maybe it's just in my program then. Lyra Shea, thanks for subscribing with 2 months, says, hey, Hannah, I just subscribed, but I've been watching forever. Love your stream. Thanks for doing this. Of course. Anyway, what was I going on about? So here's what we got going on today. John Doyle has a new video about cancel culture and woke capitalism. Elliot Hulse has a video on why he thinks COVID protections are a cult. Freaking Out 99 says, I liked Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat. It was funny, but Jim Carrey as the Grinch was amazing. Panda Man 94 says, Hannah making COVID survivable. Thank you. I remembered. I was talking about the Cat in the Hat movie. Okay. The Cat in the Hat movie is a terrible Cat in the Hat adaptation. However, if you look at it as almost a parody of the idea of an adaptation, it's pretty funny. Like, if you look at it as almost a surreal movie that's commenting on the ridiculousness of adaptation in the first place, it's pretty good. Drugs also help. But it's a bad Dr. Seuss adaptation. Ben Shapiro is going to be talking about the Dr. Seuss thing, which is where we're going to get into, you know, all the Dr. Seuss stuff. No BS has a video about Marvel's WandaVision, which ended last week. I saw the finale. This is probably going to include some spoilers. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But just a spoiler warning when we get to that segment if you haven't seen WandaVision yet. I really liked WandaVision, for the record. I think it was great. Some people were mad their fan theories didn't come true, but I think it was a great show, a great commentary on both television history as well as sort of the grief and how you get through it. So that's nice. MMO Addicted with 20 bits says, I tripped and fell hard, headfirst into a doorway corner, smashed up my glasses, totaling them. May I get a rip for my favorite pair? Rip. It already ended? Yeah, it was basically, the Marvel shows are going to be mostly mini-series, I think. So, like, WandaVision was like an 8-episode thing that stands on its own, and in 2 weeks, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to start. I think that's either 6 or 8 episodes, and that's going to be sort of its own thing. Self-contained, and then Loki, similar thing. Pyromancer 56 with 20 beds says, it was a terrible Batman movie, but Jim Carrey as the Riddler was great. Yeah, he very much channeled the original 1966 Riddler. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, hey Hannah, I figured out why A Call for an Uprising is who he is. This is how he woke up one night. And NSFW, don't show on stream. Okay, I'm gonna look at it though. Hot. That's hot. Bonk me. That's a bonk on me. Anyway, isn't Jim Carrey anti-vax or something? Yes. Yes, he is, unfortunately. Bryson Gray's got beef with gay Republicans. It's a Mad Lib. We live in a Mad Lib world. Bryson Gray, MAGA rapper, has beef with LGBT Republican Trump supporters. We'll do some MAGA cope. And I think that's it. This is just to show you guys the illustrations from the Dr. Seuss books that got pulled by the publisher. How many people are watching? 154? Not bad. I remember when I used to struggle to get 80 people watching. That's pretty good. I appreciate all of you, just so you know. I know we tend to get into pretty scripted, like, because when we do, like, hype trains, we're going really quick through all the stuff, so I'll be like, thank you, I appreciate it, thank you, I appreciate it, thank you, I appreciate it. I do that for brevity, because it's quick, but really, I do appreciate every single one of you that watches, and follows, and subscribes, and gives bits. Like, you're amazing. I appreciate all of you as individuals. UC 178, my thing takes a while to update sometimes. Anyway, so what should we... Well, we'll do MAGA Cope first. It's time for some MAGA Cope, I guess. I think some of this is going to have to do with the Dr. Seuss thing, unfortunately. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Let's take a look at how all of this is going, shall we? A lot of them have just been posing with different, Dr. Seuss books. Which were the ones that were pulled from publishing by the publisher? Let me see. If I Ran the Zoo, I think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, McGilligut's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, and Scrambled Super Eggs, and the Cat's Quizzer. Okay. So, he's holding a book that isn't even one of the ones that are being pulled by the publisher. Anyone can buy this at any time. It's fine. Keep drinking that orange-flavored Kool-Aid, buddy. Rather that than the racist Kool-Aid, liberals push to remove all faces from packaging of people of color. I didn't get the memo on that. Why did no one CC me on that one? Yet the white faces are still there. Coincidence? Or a plan to demean people of color further and push dependency upon... oh, I'm not reading that. That is the Democrat platform. Apparently, you have no clue what racism really is. Who is trying to take... Oh! Is he talking about Aunt Jemima? Does he think Aunt Jemima is a symbol of, like... Does he think... In his head... Did he think, like, black people were walking through the grocery store and they'd see Aunt Jemima on the bottles and they'd be like, I feel very represented here. Thanks, Aunt Jemima. Jesus Christ. Bitter old-ass broad with 100 bits says, hey, Hannah, you make a little impossible for me to be bitter and old. So off-brand, I know. Thank you. What's my favorite Dr. Seuss book? The Places You'll Go. That's probably cliche, but I mean, Dr. Seuss had a lot of books, right? Dr. Seuss he published a lot of books. He's got like 5 that are like S tier, some that are A tier, you know, B tier. There's like 5 really great Dr. Seuss books, and then some pretty good ones. And then it starts to kind of like, Bitter old-ass broad says, by the way, I have no brand. Let's see how many, all Dr. Seuss books. When I was a kid, I read Dr. Seuss a lot. My parents bought me a collection of Dr. Seuss books, so I owned, like, a lot of them. Probably not every single one, but I owned all the ones that you think of when you think of Dr. Seuss, even some of the ones that you don't. Let's take a look at the complete list. And I think I saw that on Mulberry Street, which is, like, D tier. 500 Hats, don't care. The King Stilts, don't care. McGilligut's Pool, don't care. I Ran the Zoo, don't care. Horton Hears a Who, pretty good. That's probably B or A tier. Cat in the Hat, that's S tier. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, S tier. Yertle the Turtle and Other Stories, that's probably B tier. Cat in the Hat Comes Back, that's C tier, but I do like the Cat in the Hat. Profane Priestess says my favorite is the Lorax. Green Eggs and Ham, S tier. The Sneetches, I'm gonna say A tier. I don't remember the other stories in the Sneetches short story collection, but I do like the Sneetches, so let's say A or B. You get it. Dr. Seuss did a lot of books. About 5 of them are excellent. The rest are, like, pretty good kids' books. You didn't need you to do a tier list now? I would need to reread some of the ones that I've only read, like, once or twice. Anyway. The Dr. Seuss thing is very interesting. Here's another thing. March 4th came and March 4th went, but Trump was gone, their momentum spent. It appears the Qs were out of luck, or perhaps they were just dumb as fuck. I wish I could talk in rhyme all the time. I do not like this Biden twit. I do not like him even one bit. Oh, the cadence on that's a little... I don't think Dr. Seuss would allow that. I do not like this Biden twit. I do not like him. You should say, I do not like him not one bit. That would fit the rhyme scheme better. Instead, it's, I do not like this Biden twit. I do not like him even one bit. That even one bit adds too many syllables. I do not like him, not one bit. That would be the correct number. I do not like his creepy stare. He often makes me want to swear. I do not like all the... Oh no! I do not like all the diversity or forgiving tuition to university. Who just straight up takes the mask off and is like, I don't like diversity! White, straight people, please, and no one else. I do not like his immigration views. Most of the time, he's just very confused. Oh my god, this is so bad. Like, obviously the content shit, but just the structure. If you're gonna parody Dr. Seuss, you better do it well. Dr. Seuss is many things and a complicated person, but that motherfucker knew how to rhyme. That's his defining characteristic. You can't do a Dr. Seuss parody and fuck up the one thing about Dr. Seuss that everyone knows. Pyromancer says this was poorly made. I agree. I do not like the way he speaks. We'll have to buy oil from the sheiks. I do not like his view on war or most things he stands for. Oh my god, the bad rhyming in this, the bad, like, lack of rhyme scheme and, like, the syllables being wrong in the response to the initial... I'm not, like, big on, like, poetry, so I don't know what it's called when there's the initial line. That's the setup, and then the second line, which is, like, the answer in this sort of, like, A, B, A, B, A, B. I don't know what it's called, but they're doing a bad job. He's really just a dumb old fart. He really doesn't have much use. Now he's gone and killed Dr. Seuss. That one completely threw the rhyme scheme out. It was A, B, A, B up until this point. What the fuck? You can't just, I mean, you can go A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, or something, but like, whatever. Living in Portland, biting my tongue whenever politics come up. My conscience. I lost this battle about a decade ago. Only got one friend remaining, but at least he's not a college commie shit. Why don't you move then? Move. Devious Chillster with 50 bits says, I do not like this Chud fuckwit. He's just straight out. Okay, don't read it. You pressed enter too early. Gotcha. Do better. I'll take a Neanderthal over a beta male any day. Right on, Jason. Do you? You get that Neanderthal bear action or whatever. Devious Chillster says, shame bits. Oh no, Gab posts, our way of life must be preserved, which is a dog whistle towards the 14 words that white supremacists use, and also it's people practicing the least amount of gun safety while cooking various meats on their nice-looking outdoor brick barbecue. You don't need to hold a gun while you do that, though, and also, this kid's gonna shoot a sister in the head accidentally. Don't point guns at people. How hard is this to understand? What's your solution to lifting people out of poverty? Genuinely want to know. For one, stop telling them they're victims. Capitalism is the best-to-date system mankind has ever created. Belle Delphine made millions selling her bathwater. Don't sit there and tell me you can't make it in this world. I don't look like Belle Delphine. You guys want to buy my bathwater? It's disgusting. It doesn't smell like roses. It smells like sweat and shame and estrogen pills. Masks don't work anyway. South Dakota never had any mask mandates and they did just fine. Oh no. According to this, South Dakota population is 900,000 and they've had 113,000 COVID cases, meaning more than 1 in 10 people have caught COVID there, so that's great. You can think what you like, it won't change the facts. You're right, and the facts are, using they, them in reference to a single person as their pronouns, is improper grammar, and that non-binary is just a meaningless term that my generation came up with because they didn't get enough attention from mommy since daddy left to get milk for 18 years as their pronouns. Guys, it's not hard. People use their as a singular pronoun. It's fine. And it's valid. We are telling our children that Dr. Seuss is racist and Mr. Potato Head is transphobic. Not really. The publisher for Dr. Seuss, I don't even know who publishes Dr. Seuss, but whoever it is decided to pull like 5 books because of probably poor sales. They're some of the worst performing books in the Dr. Seuss catalog. And also they got some racist depictions in them. That's not saying Dr. Seuss is racist. It's them saying, we probably shouldn't be printing these anymore. Which is fine. There wasn't even, like, a Twitter hashtag for this. It's not like it was like, cancel Dr. Seuss. This was a unilaterally made business decision by the company. Pyromancer56 says, the fetishizing of that time period that Republicans Doyle do is frustrating. It is. It's very stupid. But Cadbury Eggs thought a new commercial of 2 gay men sharing a chocolate egg was wholesome family entertainment. Keep that in mind when you're buying Easter candy this year. Are they even gay in that commercial? I don't know. Does it matter? Like, gay people exist. Sorry.
And you need to understand.
Oh, Jesus. I can't play it because of the music. Poop. Things I will put in your ass if you come near me with that vaccine. Don't threaten me with a good time.
6 books. They have now banned 6 books.
Again, what's with this word banned? The company that publishes Dr. Seuss chose voluntarily, with no outside pressure, to stop publishing 5 of the books. That's it.
From Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. You can no longer print these 6 books.
I mean, you couldn't print those books anyway. The publisher owns the copyright on them. Were you printing Dr. Seuss books? Are you selling bootleg Dr. Seuss books? Why are you making it sound like it's impossible to get these books? I'm sure you can buy them somewhere. They're just not making any more.
If I ran a zoo and to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, The Cat's Quizzer. This according to a panel of educators and experts. They are banning Dr. Seuss books. How much more do...
These are the books, to be clear. In the bottom left, you got a pretty outdated depiction of a Chinese individual who has one of those hats. has those wooden shoe things and is eating Bryce with chopsticks with the slant eyes. Here's one that's a depiction. You guys can see this, right? Can you see this? Do I need to like zoom in or something? Or is this visible? Depictions. Very racist depictions of some individuals. According to this, it says, I'll go to the African island of Yurka. So, really racist depictions of some African individuals. This one's like vaguely Middle Eastern, Asiatic, I don't know. And I don't know what the other books were, but it's stuff like that. Like, guys, come on. Glenn Beck. Stop just saying it. Why don't you put these on screen while you're talking about this? Is it because everyone reasonable looks at those and goes, I kinda get it. I kinda get it. They're not canceling, like, first of all, they're not canceling anything. They're choosing not to publish these books of their own accord. Secondly, they're not like, we're not gonna print Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat anymore, or Green Eggs and Ham. It's their least it's books that are not selling that also include depictions that are like, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Easier to incite rage if you don't show the justification. I know, but it's so blatant. It's so blatant. It frustrates me.
Do you need to see before all of America wakes up and goes, this is fashion?
The description for the Chinese characters have changed over the years also. Latest is Chinese boy, before it was Chinese man, and before that it was Chinaman. Yeah.
Fascism. This is fascism.
It's fascism when a publisher chooses not to publish some of the books in its catalog.
You don't destroy books. What is wrong with us, America? Go out and buy those books today. Find.
I don't even know if you're going to be... I haven't been to the store in person in quite a while, but I have gone to the store. I've gone to Barnes & Noble, although I don't spend a lot of time in the children's section there. But I've seen, like, at my local, department store, they had, for a while, a thing of just Dr. Seuss books. And I looked at them because I'm nostalgic for Dr. Seuss, because like I said, I had a set of them as a kid. So I really like, Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat, and Green Eggs and Ham, and The Places You'll Go, and some of those other ones. The Sneetches, stuff like that. Really cool stuff. I like Dr. Seuss. Not once did I see any of the books listed there. Because no one wants them! Pyromancer says, what's wrong is that people like you exist, Glenn Beck. TYY also says, they're literally doing this so he won't be canceled. They're doing this so people don't start a Twitter campaign. Yeah.
Find out if you...
To an extent. I think it's more so that the books just don't sell well. They could also, and I don't think anyone would give a shit, like, these aren't well-selling books anyway, but let's say, and I understand, some people might find this sacrilegious or whatever because it's Dr. Seuss, and the artwork that's associated with Dr. Seuss is like, it's inseparable from the wording, right? Like, the verse itself is one thing, but also the art is iconic. But if you're that married to this particular book, maybe change the art. Not the whole thing. You don't need to change everything. Just maybe the racist part. Just the racist part. Or sell these, like someone recommended in the chat, in the adult section as like, hey, these are Dr. Seuss books, but they're not really for children because they have really, really racist depictions of people. Oh yeah, the first one's an easy edit. This one is probably a complete redo except for the bird. And this one's pretty much a complete redo too. But like, I get it. I get it. I get why a company that's operating for profit would not want these things in their catalog.
Get 'em. Buy Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Because it's the end of an era.
Not really. They're still selling Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Again, you're completely misrepresenting what happened. The brand name of the line of toys is now just Potato Head. But in that line, they sell Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head and, like, baby potato heads. I think they call them spuds. They have, like, pet potato heads. That's the whole point, is that it's encompassing all of the products in the line and not just the one toy, Mr. Potato Head.
It is the end of freedom in America, where you are bullied to the point to where you better not have that book.
No one's going to come into your house and take your shitty Dr. Seuss book. And honestly, if you're reading your kids one of these ones instead of, like, the good Dr. Seuss books, that poor kid. Get some good Dr. Seuss books. Like some of the ones that are anti-fascism. That'd be great. Those are good. Oh, good God. No! Oh no, it's got Doctor Who on it too! I'd rather be vored by a dragon than vote for Joe Biden. Who is this person? Who's a fan of Sonic and Doctor Who and Lilo and Stitch and likes Trump? Weird. Old School AJ, thanks for subscribing with 4 months with a 1-month streak. Mike Max 321 says the real fascism is the conservative preventing people autonomy for free Medicare. Hormones influence drugs for trans people, abortion, and many things they consider sinful. Daddy Sume says vor is being eaten, swallowed. I know what vor is. I've been on the internet long enough to know what vor is. Pyromancer with 20 bits says Republican duplicity on freedom pisses me off. Yeah, they're hypocrites. And thank you, Jovian Dakic. Appreciate that. When you date a white, it's not all right. Propagation of whiteness is propaganda of hatred, oppression, and homophobia, sexism, transphobia, racism, ableism. This will not be tolerated. You've been warned, Emerald City Antifa. I would bet you $1,000 this was posted by some chud just to take a photo and post it on Twitter or Parler and be like, look at how crazy Antifa is. They do this shit. Matt Walsh. Who's Matt Walsh? Hold on. CEO of Awful Takes. Why am I blanking on who Matt Walsh is? Children need a mother and a father. This is one of the most basic human truths that hasn't changed just because our society has lost its mind and its soul. It should be illegal for adoption agencies to place a child in anything but a stable mother-father home. People are asking if this means I'm opposed to single people adopting kids. Yes, absolutely. I think children need and deserve a mother and a father. I do not see either the mother or the father as expendable. That's my view. Nearly everyone had this view until like 12 seconds ago. That's definitely untrue. He's just some random chud. J Pizza 31, thanks for subscribing with a 3-month streak, third of the way to a stream, baby. We can get there. I believe it. Happy birthday, Dr. Seuss. I won't cancel you. Conservative Trump supporter, love to laugh. Oh no. I'm betting she's the feature in at least a couple Karen videos floating around online. There's, of course, the Trump golden statue. Societies need to remind themselves of their history. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. The fact that you want to take down ranger statues is proof that you know nothing about history. How many statues of Hitler and SS generals does Germany have? Valid point. You don't put up statues for the losers, and especially losers who are pieces of shit who were fighting a war to subjugate countless numbers of individuals because of the color of their skin. Initial guy says, none, and that's a huge problem. If you ever find yourself advocating for building statues of Adolf Hitler and SS officers, I don't want to say Nazi, but you're a Nazi. You're a fucking piece of shit. Jesus Christ. Cleanse for later? Thanks. Freaking Out 99 with 50 bits says, my grandpa is a MAGA Karen, or grandma rather. If you insult Trump at dinner, she'll bang pots and pans, even if it's not in her house. Is your grandmother 3 years old? Pyromancer, oh no, sorry, that one was Freaking Out 99, and this is Pyromancer. We don't need statues to have knowledge of old events. Yeah, it's stupid. People can look at this and still say Biden won the election. Yeah, the blue areas are where people live. The red areas have fewer people because they're rural areas. People are more spread out. Most of the population lives in the blue areas. Sex is binary. Genie Durr isn't a thing. You know what? I agree. Genie Durr is not a thing. Gender is. Genie Durr isn't. Me vaccinated? Nah, not me. But oh no, it's the one joke mixed with vaccination. Anti-vax people. Gross. Pyromancer says I had to disown my backyard because it voted for Trump. I hate the one joke. I hate the one joke.
For withering losses in the midterms and to lose the White House decisively 4 years from now. Actually, as you know, they just lost the White House, but it's one of those things. But who knows? Who knows? I may even decide to beat them for a third time, okay?
You only won the Electoral College once and you lost the popular vote twice. How are you adding up to 3 times? I don't want to watch this whole speech. I changed my mind. I can't deal with listening to Trump talk for an hour and a half. I want to be so done with Donald fucking Trump. I didn't see the short fat otaku thing that he posted to Chris Reagan thing. Can you exchange channel points for real currency? You can exchange channel points for 1 Shroot buck. And then watch The Office to figure out how you can convert that.
Who has a feeling that Trump's gonna come back? Who's with me? Can I get a like and follow? We got this, y'all. Trump 2021. Let's do it. Who has a feeling that Trump's gonna come back?
Trump is not going to come back in 2021. Because that's not when we elect the president. Did I hear Donald Trump sent a cease and desist to organizations using his name in promotional materials? I did. That was very funny. I am going to vote in every state I can drive to. Every Republican should do the same. Screw the demo rats in the deep state. That's illegal, but I'm also guessing that's a troll. The Democrats switched parties and voted for President Trump? What? White privilege is a myth perpetuated by those who hate white people, and we're supposed to feel that way because these people are living in a cabin? No. They appear to be people living on the frontier. That's their choice. And I'm sure their life was hard. and that's wonderful. But, like, this is pretty soon after the Civil War, where, you know, an entire race of people had a decision about their freedom made over a war? What? Let's compare these people's house and their freedoms to, let's say, a black person at the same time. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but we lived in a log cabin. Okay, you had a fucking cabin, didn't you? Cool. Advisors say Trump has not talked about dropping Pence from the ticket and possible future bid. That's so bizarre. God, please don't have Donald Trump run again. Imagine if in 2020, Democrats ran Hillary Clinton. Like, we already had this election. We already know who's gonna win. Why are we doing this again? I really don't want to see Trump v. Biden part 2. That sounds awful. Nick Fuentes banned from Clubhouse during his first broadcast. That'll happen when you're a neo-Nazi. And I'm trying not to throw that word around. Nick Fuentes is, though. Nick Fuentes is a literal Holocaust-denying neo-Nazi. So, you know. The Capitol riot was set up by the Dems. Weird. I saw a lot of Trump flags and hats there. Funny how that works.
To me, has one quality that is really special. He will fight for his friends. That the people that he served with in jail will tell you the same thing in prison that I will tell you. He is loyal to his friends. He loves his country. And if he has to stand up to his party for his country, so be it. He would die for this country. I love him to death.
You're gonna love how the movie ends. Sure. They're always comparing it to a movie. We don't live in a movie. We live in the real world. They've stolen a whole year of our lives from us. A whole year. Nope. That was a disease. Sorry. Jesus Christ. Wow. California needs an earthquake that would let that place drift away from America. That's not even how that would work. It would still be America. MMO Addicted says, I legit got up to see if my toilet broke. Sorry. Mike Mack says, to quote a meme, I'm idiots, people could fly. This place will be a airport. What? Oh yeah, did you see the mask burning shit?
Not all at once. Hold on a little bit. Put the fire out.
Here, these are right here. Right here.
Look, after COVID is dealt with and a majority of the population is vaccinated, if you want to have like a mask burning party as like a fun thing, like, hey, we did it, we got through it, this was all tough, this was a bitch of a year and a half or whatever, totes, I understand that. We're not at that place yet, okay? Keep the masks, please. Put the masks on while you're out places. Ugh, people are such idiots. Pyromancer says, I hope they enjoy the fumes. Stone Corbell with 100 bits says, glad we've politicized the germ theory of disease. Cool country we live in. It's gross. I don't know. We're probably good for the day, right? Is there anything on Parlor Cringe? Do they still post stuff? Not in a while. Yeah, we're probably good then. Oh, I always gotta play this when we go by it.
Google's got you, Google's got you, Google's got you, Google's got you,
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter,
Google's got you, Google's
Apple,
got you,
Amazon,
Google's got you, Google's got you,
Instagram, and TikTok. Why did you send me?
Google's got you,
When I speak out, and you disagree, you
Google's
deplatform,
got you, Google,
ban and fact check me.
Google.
I hooked on my freedom.
He has shit views, but it's well done. Sure, if it was this dude doing literally anything else, it'd probably be fine.
Great news, Trump supporters. Trump was looking at Pelosi's laptop last night in real time. She was stopped at the border at 11:55. She'll be taken to an undisclosed place till tribunal trials. Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood are in front of military judges yesterday. 195,000 sealed indictments. And they have more, but just for this operation is what this is related to. Sweeping arrests will be made all weekend long and going into the next week. Stock up and be prepared for 10 to 12 days while Trump's team takes action and new government is put in place. Pence did his duty. They went along with the insurrection. And now it's just time to sit back and watch God do his work.
I wonder how she's feeling today, since literally none of that was true. I also wonder where she's getting her information. Alright. That's enough MAGA cope. Let's do some Dr. Seuss stuff. Okay, we're getting to the part of the show where I'll do bits messages, but not when they come in. I'll be doing them in between videos, just so everyone knows. So, Ben Shapiro, hold your laughter, I know. Ben Shapiro is very mad that the publishing company behind Dr. Seuss's books, don't know who publishes them, pretty irrelevant to this discussion. Either way, it's a private company that publishes Dr. Seuss's books. 5 of these books were very poorly selling, and on top of that, had some pretty racially insensitive depictions of individuals of different races. Let's give you some examples. Here's one. A depiction of a Chinese man, stereotypical, wearing one of those hats, eating rice with chopsticks on the go in like one of those, I don't even know what the shirt thing's called. Whatever. And I know some of you are thinking, I don't know. Let's take a look at some of these other ones. This is one where it's depicting African individuals, and they have pot bellies. They're barefoot in grass skirts with giant nose rings and their hair up in kind of a messy top bun with ringlets sort of on their arms, okay? This is not just a little, like, I don't know, it's of its time. This is like minstrel showy bullshit, right? This is not even close to acceptable in 2021. And there were some other ones about, like, you know, Middle Eastern type places. You get it. 5 books. The books were, let me take a look. If I Ran the Zoo, I think I saw it on Mulberry Street, McGilligan's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, and Scrambled Eggs Super. 5 Dr. Seuss books that I guarantee 90% of the audience has never heard of. Maybe you've heard of If I Ran the Zoo and Mulberry Street. The other ones, I almost guarantee you've never heard of. This was not driven, by the way, by any sort of Twitter hashtag. This was not driven by outraged people being like, you must ban these books. Because again, these are books no one has heard of in like 40 years. No one knows these books. But they're poorly selling, and on top of that, they have pretty racially insensitive depictions. By the way, even Dr. Seuss himself admitted that he was ashamed of certain depictions of individuals that he had drawn in the past. Let's look. Dr. Seuss racist drawings. So Dr. Seuss, of course, was doing illustrations even before his own books. He would do political comics and other material that was, you know, like this. This is another depiction of a black individual that's minstrel show as F. It is unacceptable, right? By today's standards, we all understand this is not okay. Here's another one. This is one of the books I think that got removed because of its depiction of these Asian individuals, right? Not okay. This is from something else. Dr. Seuss, in his lifetime, while he was alive, he also did some World War II comics that were, much like a lot of World War II propaganda, pretty racist against Japanese individuals. Anyway, within his own lifetime, Dr. Seuss expressed regret over these depictions. He said, hey, I screwed up. These weren't okay, and I've learned to not do that anymore. And that's wonderful. Outside of that, Dr. Seuss is sort of a cool... how do I put this? Dr. Seuss is a complicated individual like everyone is. Dr. Seuss wrote a lot of really great things. He had some wonderful, like comics, political comics, as well as Dr. Seuss books later in life that were anti-fascist in nature, right? Some more explicitly than others. Yertle the Turtle is supposed to be like a fascist allegory and how fascism ends badly for everyone. He wrote a lot of stuff about not being racist. He wrote Horton Hears a Who in part in response to like some of the things he had written before, some of the things he had drawn before. So Dr. Seuss did end up learning his lesson, but nonetheless, I think if Dr. Seuss was alive today, he would understand them deciding not to publish those anymore. And in fact, if he was alive today, he would probably be like, you want me to re-illustrate those pages? I can probably do that. The Sneetches. The Sneetches is another really good anti-racism and how, probably unintentionally, but it's a good allegory as to how capitalistic intent can try and push divisiveness amongst people for their own profit. So that's good. He's done a lot of great work. I love Dr. Seuss books. I grew up with them. I had a set of them growing up. Not all of them, but many of them. The ones you're thinking of. Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, The Grinch, you know, a bunch of them. I probably had about 10 to 15 Dr. Seuss books. So don't be thinking I'm someone who hates Dr. Seuss for some reason. I don't. I love Dr. Seuss. Oh, the Places You'll Go is my favorite one, although that's cliche. I love Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss, though, complicated person. For instance, apparently, Dr. Seuss cheated on his wife while she had cancer, which caused her to kill herself. So we can look at Dr. Seuss as a complete person and say, well, he certainly did some bad things in terms of his depictions of different races. He certainly did some good things in terms of some of his books later in life that had to do with not being racist, the dangers of fascism, stuff like that. And we could also say, cheated on his wife and she killed herself. So, oh, and then he ended up being with the woman that he cheated on his wife with. They stayed together. So, Dr. Seuss is not this, like, bastion of perfect everythingness. That being said, read your kids Green Eggs and Ham. Read your kids The Cat in the Hat. Read your kids The Sneetches. Read your kids The Lorax. These are wonderful pieces of children's fiction. They're creative. The art is wonderful. And most importantly, not racist. Quite the opposite in many of the cases for a lot of his work. Anyway, circling back to the beginning. Like I said, the publisher behind the Dr. Seuss books currently has decided to stop publishing 5 of the books, some of which had the depictions that we showed earlier. The right's pissed off about this. They're blaming cancel culture. They're saying it's the left's fault. Again, even though there was no mass movement to have this happen, this was a decision made by a private publisher about their own intellectual property. So let's see how Ben's reacting to this. Gonna guess not well.
Everybody is on the cancellation block. And if you don't cancel, the best path to joining the woke, by the way, is to cancel yourself preemptively. And this is precisely what is happening to Dr. Seuss. So, Dr. Seuss's books are classics of children's literature. He's the greatest children's author for kids who are under the age of 7 of all time. It is not close.
Let me take a look. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I just don't know a ton of children's authors under 7. He's probably the most prolific, if I had to guess, in terms of, like, the number of really, really great children's books that he put out. Roald Dahl is probably a step up. Roald Dahl's really good. I like a lot of the Roald Dahl books. The, BFG and Matilda and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the sequel to that, The Great Glass Elevator. Those are good, but sure. Okay, I would see Dr. Seuss's 7 and below. I don't know a ton of, like, children's book authors, though, but I could agree with that statement.
Dr. Seuss books to my kids pretty much every day. Okay, but according to a...
Right on, and that's great. I'm glad your kids are getting some anti-fascist messaging somewhere, Ben.
Virginia school district, Dr. Seuss's birthday can no longer be touted on Read Across America Day because a study said the author's work is, quote, filled with Orientalism, anti-blackness, and white supremacy. Now, I grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. You grew up reading Dr. Seuss books.
See, I don't know if I even agree with that. Like, I'm fine with the private company. And again, this is within the framework we're working in. I'm not a big fan of how capitalism currently functions and how it makes our society work. Or not work, in many cases. But we do live under that system, and I think the rules should be fair within that system as much as they can be for what the system is. They're a private company. If they want to, like, not publish these books, good for them. That's great. I don't really care. Choosing not to celebrate Dr. Seuss on the whole for this, that's your choice. That's fine. I can't determine what this school district does or whatever. But I think it's losing a teaching moment, maybe? I don't know. I think it's fair to teach kids, like, hey, Dr. Seuss, amazing children's author. You love Dr. Seuss, right? Well, here's the thing. Dr. Seuss did some things that weren't so great. Here are some things that Dr. Seuss did that were like, although maybe this is something you should teach to older kids than, like, 7, maybe 10 to 12 would be a better age, but, like, I think it's a fair point to be like, hey, Dr. Seuss, great children's author, but also product of his time in many ways. Here are things that we've grown past as a culture.
Everybody grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. Did it make you more racist to read a Dr. Seuss book? Did it ever even occur to you that race was an element of Dr. Seuss books until I just said this 1 second ago?
I mean, that's kind of the issue, is that things that are in our pop culture are just sort of there and we don't realize how they're affecting us until they already do. You don't necessarily see the subtext of certain things and understand the issue with them initially.
Of course not. Because no one is actually outraged about this. There are no human beings who read Dr. Seuss books and are actually angry at them.
Angry? No. If I had kids and I was reading them the Dr. Seuss book and I saw some of those illustrations, I'd be like, probably not gonna read this to my kid again. Just because it's pretty fucking yikes. It is. There's nothing wrong with admitting that there are problematic elements in media you enjoy. No one is telling you, Ben, that you cannot read your kid Dr. Seuss. Read your kid Dr. Seuss. But I would bet Ben Shapiro $10,000 that not once has he ever read his kids one of the 5 Dr. Seuss books. that have been depublished or they're not going to be published anymore because they're like their least popular Dr. Seuss books. No one reads these to their children. You're getting mad that something is not going to be published anymore that you didn't care about until you were told, hey, we're not going to publish this anymore, because it's not about the actual content of the books. It's not about how you actually felt about the books previously. It's about your perceived culture war and feeling that you need to do whatever the opposite of what you perceive liberals or people on the left to be doing. So you gotta get mad and you gotta find the racist Dr. Seuss books just to own the libs. It's the most childish shit.
All of this is just about signaling. It is about setting new standards, hoops for people to jump through. And if
oh no, setting new standards. Like imagine, Imagine, like, Ben Shapiro growing up in the past or something. And, like, let's say, I don't know, dolls like this, right? Or something that's more contemporary to the past, because I think I've actually read about these, that they still exist in some places. But, like, let's say this kind of thing was still selling in America today, right? And they started saying, hey, we shouldn't be selling these. They're pretty racially insensitive, right? Not cool. I can imagine Ben Shapiro being like, what, when you see this, do you think about race? I don't think about race. This is just a depiction. It's whatever. Like, Ben, of course you don't. That's the entire problem. That's the problem, Ben.
if you ask for any sort of context that provides whether the book is racist, whether it is racist to read If I Ran the Zoo, because there are people of Asiatic appearance in the book If I Ran the Zoo. If you even ask even the question is racist. If you say, okay, well, he drew that in 1940, and let's just say that it was insensitive in 1940.
It's insensitive now. We live in 2021. It was also insensitive back then, but they didn't know that.
Has any child read this in the last 20, 30, 40 years? And
probably not at all, which is why it doesn't really matter that they're not going to be publishing it anymore.
Come away with a bad impression of people from Japan?
I think in that it was Chinese, not Japanese. But I think that was the one with the person with chopsticks. Ben, it's not about it being like a racist diatribe. No one is claiming you're going to come out of like we If I Owned the Zoo or one of these other books thinking bad things implicitly about these groups, about people in these groups. The issue is that it's creating certain stereotypical images in your mind about what this is. So even if you don't realize it, our sort of thoughts and stereotypes that we view other groups as do begin in childhood. So if the depictions of, like, people from Asia, whether it's Japan or China or wherever, are informed by stuff like this, then you get a pretty backwards image. You think, oh, China, chopsticks, buck teeth, her, like Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. That becomes your mental image of Asian individuals, and that's not good. That's not good. So yeah, that's part of the reason that they decided to stop publishing these books, but I would imagine the bigger reason is they don't sell very well.
Because they read a Dr. Seuss book? To ask that question is to be the problem, because now you are asking for evidence of a claim that is by nature a claim that is rooted solely in feelings. So how did the Dr. Seuss Foundation respond to this? Not by defending their guy. Of course not. Instead, the official organization that controls the legacy of Dr. Seuss said it will no longer sell 6 of the author's children's books.
It was 6, not 5. I apologize.
Of racist and insensitive depictions, including his very first major book, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. I can't even remember what is supposed to be racist, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street.
Sure. Let's look. This person even says, and I talked about this earlier, I don't remember if it was during this segment or during the initial start of the stream, but Dr. Seuss himself censored his work. In a reprint of Mulberry Street, a character referred to as a Chinaman, depicted with yellow skin, was changed to a Chinese man and the offensive color removed. A political progressive, he would certainly support updating his works. I don't disagree about that. If they wanted to change the image, I think that would also be fine. It was this one. This was the depiction of a Chinese man, according to the book, in Mulberry Street. Again, this has already been softened. The initial publishing, he was colored in yellow, and it was called, quote, Chinaman, which is, I don't, who said the bit? I think it was John Mulaney who said that that's like the racist, the laziest racial slur. I tend to agree. Anyway, so they're not going to publish this book anymore because of this shit. Some of the other books had, like I said, stuff like this. We already looked at a bunch of the images. Here's the change, by the way. Here's what it looked like initially. Actually, this is the second edition. It was initially, quote, Chinaman. I'm just quoting it. And then it was changed to a Chinese boy, but the color remained. And then in the most recent revision, it's a Chinese man, and they removed the color. So it's not literal yellow face. So that's the answer, Ben.
If I ran the zoo and McGilligan's Pool, by the way, I own all of them. You should buy them today. They're great for your kids.
I personally bought the store out of Mr. Potato Heads. I have personally sculpted 74 potato penises for the potato heads. We need to ensure that our children know that potatoes, anthropomorphized as human beings, called Mr. Potato Head, have penis and, of course, the balls. So, go to your store and buy on the sorry. On the Daily Wire website, buy our custom-made Mr. Potato penises. Great for kids, birthday presents, Easter gifts. Give the gift of a potato penis today.
The notion that that he perpetuated Jewish stereotypes as financially stingy, and that all of this appears in his books. The study, published in 2019, examined 50 books by Dr. Seuss, found 43 out of the 45 characters of color have, quote, characteristics aligning with the definition of Orientalism. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Ben, define Orientalism to demonstrate that you know what they're even talking about. Please.
It's just, it's all insanity, but, again, to call for an end to the insanity is to excise yourself from the community of the new ruling class. And that is what all of this is about in the end.
The new ruling class. The Dr. Seuss Foundation. The new ruling class! One day we'll all have to speak in rhyme. I don't know how we'll find the time if we don't do what they say. In a guillotine I'll have to lay. Yeah, I'm no Theodore Geisel, sorry.
There's only one way to fight back against people who have...
They'll put us all away. Damn, that's so much better. Fuck.
...declared themselves to be at the top of the ruling class, and that's to say, you don't get to rule us. End of story. We ignore you, you're stupid, and we're not paying attention to any of this nonsense ever again.
Okay. They're still not going to publish the book. They're a private company. What do you expect to do about it? Are you going to start a bootleg printing press, and you're going to start breaking copyright law? If you want to go pirate these books, they probably exist online somewhere. I don't care. I don't care.
But here's the thing. The Biden administration has bought into this stuff hook, line, and sinker. So here's the thing.
The Biden administration has taken away my Dr. Seuss book.
Biden administration, being members of the new ruling class, and Joe Biden, being an old, white, corrupt politician, has decided that he speaks the vocabulary too. And it's very important that he speak the vocabulary. Because what the left has basically done is they've decided that by banding together identity politics and socialistic thinking, they can craft enough of a working majority to cram through their actual political agenda.
Oh, does he understand political ally making now? Does he understand that by taking, like, people's problems into consideration and by working together with others with similar goals that people can succeed? Cool.
Right? And to go back to the original thesis of today's show, it's all about politics. It is all about power and getting things done.
Which is why I'm taking 9 minutes out of the show to talk about Dr. Seuss. last time I read the Lorax. I loved it. It's a wonderful story. If you haven't read the Lorax, just hypothetically, let's say you were go and read the Lorax. It is a wonderful tale about an entrepreneur taking advantage of an underutilized resource. A hippie in a mustache climbs out of a tree, and I swear to God, he looks exactly like he looks exactly like Bernie Sanders. God damn it. I gotta stop making myself laugh. It ruins my bits. He looks exactly like Bernie Sanders, and I swear to God, he flies into the air. This book is genius. Dr. Seuss, thank you for teaching our children how good capitalism is and how the environment is for us to utilize.
It's about the authoritarian cramdown of certain policies. Basically, there are a bunch of people who don't really buy into the vocabulary, who have decided they're going to make common cause with people who do buy into the vocabulary, and a bunch of people who actually believe in the inequity is inequality argument, who have decided that they will make common cause with the socialistic wing of the Democratic Party in order to cobble together a new coalition of the ascendant. You can see this actually pretty well in Bernie Sanders. If you look back at Bernie Sanders' original presidential campaign in 2016, he didn't speak about race nearly at all. It was all about how all of the problems in our society can be laid at the root of the capitalistic system, and if you just get more socialists, it solves everything. Then, over the course of the next few years, something interesting happened to the Bernie Sanders campaign. He was told that it was not racially sensitive to speak only in terms of class. Now, Bernie Sanders is basically a commie, right? I mean, his perspective...
He's really not. I think it more came from the understanding that intersectionally class-based issues affect different people based on their racial identity differently. I also think it's probably a pragmatic political strategy considering that race is such a prolific issue in our day-to-day lives nowadays. I don't know if you could even be a politician in America and not discuss race in one way or another at this point. It's just impossible.
On life is rooted in Marxist fundamental lies about class conflict and how all of human life is driven by this class conflict.
As someone who was born wealthy, I can tell you I have never seen class conflict. When I went to my private school with my sister, Abigail, who is a wonderful singer, by the way, have you heard her sing Phantom of the Opera? It brought me to, well, not tears. I cannot produce tears. The doctors have said they do not understand what is going on. However, if I was capable of the human emotion of crying, I certainly would have cried at her rendition of Phantom of the Opera.
Everything he says is driven by that. And so, if you believe that everything at root is about class conflict, it's not at root about racial conflict, right? The black working man and the white working man have more in common than the white working man and the white rich man.
Sure. You can also recognize, though, that within that framework, there are differences between people because of their racial groups. Not intrinsically, not because of their race, but because of how society and others treat them because of the perceived race that they have. That's something that you can discuss. You can have more than one problem at once. We can have class conflicts and also recognize that these class conflicts affect different people differently because of their social situation that's informed by their race, because society, unfortunately, puts value on people's race for some reason or lack thereof. People get treated differently because of the color of their skin. It's messed up. It's disgusting. It's not good. And I think we all agree with that. It's bad. Everyone except for, like, John Doyle and Nick Fuentes agree that that's a bad thing. Even I think Ben Shapiro agrees that that's a bad thing. He just also doesn't understand that the problems that we have with the capitalistic system and how it's hurting working class people disproportionately affects certain groups of people because they're already dealing with disadvantage from birth because of the history we're all born from.
Or the black working man and the black rich man. It's about class, it's not about race. But Bernie Sanders was told that this was racially insensitive. And so he decided to make common cause with the woke and start pushing as many woke policies as he could get his hands on. And this was, writ small, what has happened with the Democratic Party writ large. This was the magic of Barack Obama, right? This is what Obama did as president. I know that we have this picture of Barack Obama as though Barack Obama was this wonderful unifying figure. That is a figure put forth by the media. It is a lie. Barack Obama of 2004 was not the same as Barack Obama circa 2010. In 2004, Barack Obama was saying there are no black Americans. There are no white Americans. We're all just Americans. There's no red America, no blue America, just America. By 2010, Barack Obama was breaking down Americans into their identity groups so that he could...
That was during a period of time... Oh, how do I put this? That was during... What do I want to call this period? Let's call it the... I don't see color period of American history. There's a part of American history where we wanted to pretend that racism was over, and that everyone was equal and that no one was treated differently because of the color of their skin. So it became sort of almost a progressive idea, a meme almost, that I don't see color, I don't see race, we're all just Americans. Yes, it was born of a certain naivete. It was typically, but not always, perpetuated by either white people or more well-off non-white people. The reality, unfortunately, as we've discovered as time has gone on, is that's not true, and we still haven't, like, dealt with our deep-seated racial issues in this country. And it's messed up. And it's sad. And it's at this point why if you say things like, I don't see color, you're basically just saying, I don't see racism? Which is why that comes up a lot. Racism exists. I do not judge anyone based on the color of their skin. However, I also recognize that other people do, and our systems in this country are kind of set up in such a way as to disadvantage certain groups of people, and I understand that we're all coming from different backgrounds because of these things. That doesn't mean I'm judging individual people based on, like, the color of their skin at all. It's to understand the way these things affect society as a whole and individuals within it. That's fine. That's reasonable.
Specifically appeal to members of those identity groups to create a coalition. This is the reason why he actually shrank his number of votes between 2008 and 2012, but it was enough to get him by Mitt Romney. So the merger between identity politics and typical sort of Democratic Party politics has been ongoing, and Joe Biden is the culmination of that, which is how you end up with a machine politician like Joe Biden, and that's what he is. A sort of machine, typical, corrupt old white politician who has suddenly become the face and voice of the racial reparations movement, according to...
Sure, I don't even disagree. I can understand that. I'm sure Biden is riding a wave of how Democratic politicians and progressive politicians in general right now are trying to... oh, is my donate command not working? Weird. There's a link below the stream to the Streamlabs page if you did want to donate. What was I saying? Oh, I'm sure Biden has sort of gotten on this rhetorical train of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be woke, I'm gonna be, you know, pay lip service to all these specific like racial related issues, and he's probably not gonna do dick about it because he's, you know, career politician guy. I didn't want to vote for Biden. Unfortunately, he was running against a fascist, so here we are. Funny how that works.
One of Joe Biden's top advisors, he is going to start acting now to address reparations to Black Americans. Speaking to Axios on HBO in an interview set to air on Monday, White House senior advisor Cedric Richmond discussed efforts targeted to helping minority communities. Richmond said they're not waiting on Congress. He said, we don't want to wait on a study. We're going to start acting now. We have to start breaking down systemic racism and barriers that have held people of color back, and especially African Americans. We have to do that stuff now, right? That's the vocabulary. And we're going to specifically...
It's also an accurate description of issues that people who aren't white in this country deal with.
Appeal on the basis of race and suggest that all inequality is inequity. And Joe Biden has decided that equity is the byword of his administration. So, for example, he says that we are going to start talking about free college tuition to historically Black colleges and universities. If you start talking about free community college and Title I and all these things, I think you're well on your way. Now, let's be real about this. If you're talking about free college, the reality is that the great imbalance in our society is the number of people going to college between people who are Black and white. The number of people who are white going to college by percentage is significantly higher than the number of people going to college who are Black. That's not because of lack of affirmative action programs or benefits programs or scholarship programs. All of
I would imagine a lot of that has to do with lack of opportunity because it's incredibly expensive to go to college, especially these days. On top of tuition you end up having, if it's a college that's further away than your hometown, then you're going to have to deal with living expenses, dorm, meals, textbooks. Like, it's incredibly expensive to go to college, and some people aren't capable of getting the loans necessary, even if they want to do that and overextend themselves financially. Like, it's not good.
Those exist.
Which is why I think we should just have free college for everybody, but whatever.
Plenty. Right? The real problem is the failure of lower education. The failure of the public school system.
I guess we shouldn't fund schools based on property taxes, then. Weird how that works.
So what is this? It's a typical Democratic policy smuggled in under the guise of the vocabulary. It's a typical Democratic policy position that is now being smuggled in under the guise of doing racial justice. You call it reparations, and then you can push forward the idea that you are speaking the vocabulary, and you can build your coalition on the back of all of this.
I don't really give a shit how they do it. If they want to provide access to education, primary, secondary, whatever, to people, I hope they do it however they can, because Republicans have been playing dirty tricks and lying through their teeth for 50 fucking years, and I'm tired of it. So if the Democrats have to do what they need to do to get progressive reforms, I hope they do it, and I hope it makes Ben Shapiro almost cry.
And so this...
He's incapable of crying. It's probably something with the ducts. I don't know. Or his robot brain. Either one.
This is the new pitch. This is the Biden administration pitch. Use the word equity to cram down all of the typical Democratic policy proposals and claim that anybody who disagrees with you is a racist. Because here's the thing. Joe Biden can't claim that anybody who disagrees with him is a racist. It's bizarre. That dude is whiter than the back of this piece of paper I'm holding up right now. I mean, if in a whiteness competition, I come in a distant second to Joe Biden. It is not close. Joe Biden is a super white dude. And yet, because he's using the language of quote-unquote equity and the language of anti-racism to push forward typical policy proposals, the idea becomes now that it is white supremacy to oppose Joe Biden's policy positions, an old white politician, one of the whitest people in America.
Do you think that a progressive, policy that helps non-white people stops being progressive or helping non-white people because it's talked about by a white person? That's not how that works. And again, I don't even think Joe Biden's going to do much for, the black community in the United States, but that's not how that works.
And so that gives him enormous ability to push forward these positions while calling all of his opponents racist, which is, again, bizarre. Barack Obama could do it because he could just say people who hate me are racist. And while it was a lie, he could at least pretend it was true because obviously at least the factual basis of him being a black person was right. Joe Biden, not a black person, still making the same exact claims.
Okay, do you need to be a black person to talk about the material conditions that are differing between white people and black people in the United States? That's not how it works.
So when you merge the democratic coalitional ideal with the racial ideal, and all of it becomes about those systems of power.
I think Ben Shapiro just doesn't like coalition building because the right's really bad at it outside of coalescing people who want to suck big business's dick and evangelicals. That's the one thing that they got. No, actually, here are the groups. The Republican Party is based on people who have been brainwashed into believing that trickle-down economics is good and that they're just temporarily embarrassed rich people and that one day they'll be billionaires, so we can't raise taxes on billionaires. Outright, and this isn't the majority, but their politics have certainly seeped into the rest of them, outright white supremacists. What else? Actual big business people, rich people, shit like that. Evangelicals, and I don't know. I already said bigots and shit. Those are probably the big main four. That's the coalition that the Republican Party has built, and it's very limited, and that group of people is shrinking and shrinking every single day because of demographics changing in the country, as well as people, let's just say class consciousness raising, slowly but surely over time. I think he's mad that the left is doing a better job of coalition building. Certainly the Democratic establishment is shit in the bed, but grassroots groups and individuals who are progressives, I think have been doing a relatively good job messaging. There have been some missteps, but I think coalition building amongst people on the left has been going better than it has amongst the right for the last 15 years or so. The right got so desperate they ended up going for Trump and courting outright neo-Nazi fascist people. Didn't work out great for them in the long run, at least so far. I guess we'll have to see what happens in 22 and 24, but that's a story for another day.
Right? Not about facts, not about the success of the policies, about the systems of power. You can get away with nearly anything, and Joe Biden knows this. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of
I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan is bigger than you, but okay. And yes, Joe Rogan is pretty conservative, whether he wants to admit it or not. So that's Ben Shapiro. Bitching about a publishing company choosing not to publish books that they own because questionable racial content. It's fine. I don't really care. Dr. Seuss. I like Dr. Seuss. I like Dr. Seuss a lot. I think Dr. Seuss was a creative, intelligent man, but also a complicated one who made some questionable decisions and cheated on his wife, who had cancer. So, whatever. Read your kids' Green Eggs and Ham. It's a good book. And stop worrying about shit like this, because it really doesn't matter. People are fucking losing their homes and can't pay their rent. Are we really bitching about Dr. Seuss books, people? Jesus Christ, Ben. Moving on. Let me get to these bit messages. MMO Addicted to 20-bit says, Mad Sharpedo incoming. Pyromancer says, I'd rather see Columbus Day changed, abolished versus Dr. Seuss's birthday, but won't see me complaining about either one of them going away. Possibly Danny, thanks for following. Pyromancer56 with 20-bit says, I'm all on board for rhyme speaking. Crizia with 50-bit says, where is he getting that people are claiming Seuss perpetuated Jewish stereotypes? I've literally never heard that one. I haven't either. I'm not familiar with that. Who knows? Crizio with 50-bit says, Bernie has been fighting for African-American rights his entire life. Ben is such a lying dipshit. Windchanter with 20-bit says, can we send Ben somewhere where he will actually experience persecution? No, don't say that. That's not funny. TYY with 20-bit says, at least Biden isn't super straight. Tusked Leopard, thanks for following. Pyromancer with 20 bits, a lot of Republicans seem to think they are eternally a few years away from being rich. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, should we make Ben play Doki Doki Literature Club? Ma Yang, thank you for subscribing with 5 months, says Green Egg and Ham. Windchanter with 20 bits says, the only real pure being is Mr. Rogers, who is the god of pure goodness in my D&D universe. Oh my god. I love that. That's great.
30s, it was the largest navy in the world.
The Seuss Navy? You're joking.
No, no joke. The Seuss Navy was his promotional brainstorm. He created it for Standard Oil's Esso Marine.
Excuse me, can I share this bench with you? I've just had a very rough trip.
This is that special I was talking about earlier that's about Dr. Seuss.
That's better. Hi, I'm Kathy.
My name's Marco.
What's the matter, Marco?
This is a segment on the Mulberry Street thing.
Charioteer. Yeah, Golden Blue Chariot, something to me, roaming like thunder down Mulberry Street.
There's some
thought of Mulberry
bees pushed.
Oh god, Patrick Stewart shows up in this. I forgot.
I'm fine. I'm just a little confused. I mean, why would Marco's father purposely want him to be boring?
That's not so simple now, is it? Marco's father was not a bad man. Dr. Seuss created him because he knew that adults and teachers didn't realize how they could smother the imagination. Smother it rather than mother it.
I don't imagine that was an easy sell.
But that was the challenge, don't you see? He knew that it was something that people did not want to hear, but he was determined to push it through. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. In the little tip. Aha! Well, what do I have here? I have the manuscript of Mulberry Street.
For me? That's sweet.
Patrick Stewart is another god of goodness.
Let's say for now.
Sure. I don't know much about his
Now be a
personal
pal
life.
and walk through that door. I'll be off, but you have ahead of you.
Jealous. He
I love this version of the Cat in the Hat, too.
was just quite taken with the great success of Mulberry Street. Apparently he was featured in it.
Well, that's Mulvaney. It was a success, but not great enough to allow Dr. Seuss the opportunity to quit the ad world.
You're kidding still? What does the man have to do? Oh, I don't know about you, but about this time I'm thinking, okay, bye-bye, let's go, all right?
Scaredy cat.
Has Patrick Stewart not been in at this
That kind of
point?
time.
Yeah.
Me.
Astrophic.
I want to go, really. I really gotta. Oh.
World War II had just broken out in Europe. Dr. Seuss was about to take a 7-year break from the ad world and his writing.
Oh, I know this.
This is one of his political cartoons from PM Magazine.
You showed me
Yeah,
this, something like
this
this
is
in the tower,
interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Listen,
Of course, it's, very glowing of Dr. Seuss, but anyway. What are we gonna do next? Chrysia says, Stewart famously gave a speech speaking out about the bullshit of police and paramedics blaming his mother for getting beaten by his father. Gross. So, our favorite Chud, Jonathan Doyle, has a new video on how to combat woke capitalism. So let's see how Doyle is doing.
Coca-Cola after an internal memo showed diversity training where employees were told to be, quote, less white. It's part of the company racism training program. People taking part are given advice on how to be less white, less arrogant, less certain, less defensive, and less arrogant. A spokesperson for Coke said it's just part of training meant to create a, quote, inclusive workplace.
I do. So I think there's a lot of learning.
How much time do you think John put into the scary filters and music for these news segments? Over an hour.
Place and a lot of awareness that is happening. I wasn't as aware 7 years ago when I had my son about the racist images in a lot of Dr. Seuss's children's books.
Story everybody's talking about this morning, that big rebrand of Mr. Potato Head. The classic children's toy now has a gender-neutral name and...
I hope this video is at least John Doyle saying this is, like, it's not worth it for the right to get pissed off about these things.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh!
Heck off, commie. Hello there, ladies.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Heck Off Commie. I know what you're thinking. Why are you still in the original studio? What has become of the interim studio, of the new studio? Relax, we're getting there. But in the meantime, I came back to Michigan to pick up a few things and also to record 2 very important videos for you guys to tide you over until the new studio is up and running, at which point the content kitchen will be firing on all cylinders. We'll be cranking out videos like the Biden administration bombing Middle Eastern countries. You love to see it. But before we get into the meat and potatoes...
John, you're a Trump supporter. Trump also did that. Trump also did that.
What we're talking about here today, I do want to go over...
And that's not whataboutism, by the way. I think they're both bad. I don't like when Biden does it, and I didn't like when Trump does it. Equally.
For a few things as it pertains to the channel as a whole that I think are important. I'll probably have to explain the...
So his parents are still in Michigan then? Yeah, he must finally be moving out of his parents' house. Good for John.
Jersey here at some point, but before we even get into that, I have to tell you something. I have to remind you of something, which I'm sure you already know because you're a genius, you have agency, you analyze the trends, and that is the fact that we're living in uncertain times, and millions have come to realize
here comes the ad read.
The importance of the Second Amendment.
It's gonna shill for holsters.
Let's address WeThePeopleHolsters.com/Doyle.
I wish I was on a coupon. Someone put me on a coupon.
PeopleHolsters.com/Doyle. Very epic. Now, let's address the elephants in the room, and I plan on repeating all of this information in the other video as well because I think it's important, and so I might just shamelessly recycle the footage, but I'll put a timestamp up right now so that you can skip this if you'd like. But about 2 weeks ago, I put out a 2-hour-long dissertation on the harms of pornography that is literally irrefutable, hundreds of sources, and I did...
Both Jake and I talked about it at length, so not irrefutable. What did he say, 840? Is he just gonna shill for his porn thing for 8 minutes?
Did this all completely free of charge, maybe because I really do just care, maybe it's like Elijah Schaefer said, maybe I'm mildly autistic, I don't know, but the point being that the video was posted. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you for participating involuntarily in the meta commentary on the importance of delayed gratification. It was all a metaphor, but I do just want to take a second to talk about that video because the responses have been overwhelmingly positive and inspirational, the comments, emails, messages, everything. And you might remember that the video was literally being censored by Google after it was posted. Like you could search for it on YouTube or on Google word for word and it wouldn't show up. But then you search for it on like DuckDuckGo or something and it would come.
Yeah, probably because you're talking about adult film material would be my guess.
Come right up. And it couldn't just be because the title of the video contained the word porn because...
Careful at the end of that video. Maybe finish it without the video on screen. Oh, this one? Oh, yep. I'm actually aware of that part. So yeah, good to know. Thank you. Oops, not what I wanted.
Other videos with that word and their titles would come up, including the one that we did last year, which was much less thorough. And that really just puts into perspective what we're up against.
Let me see. Let's give it a shot. John Doyle porn. It's right there. Why is it on there twice? Oh, he has 2 different videos about it. Gotcha. Yeah. This one's only 23 minutes, and this one's an hour 42. Why do you cover it twice? Shows right up. Maybe incognito tab? Let me do an incognito tab. Can you guys see that? Hold on. No, you can't. Let me switch to the incognito tab. Oh, it's not going to let me? Okay, fine. YouTube.com. John Doyle porn. Yeah, no, it shows up right away on the incognito tab, too. I want to show you guys for, like, proof, but I'm having trouble. There we go. Maybe. There we go. This is the incognito window. I'm not signed in or anything. If you type John Doyle porn, both those videos come up, as well as his channel. Immediately. So, yeah, he's wrong. He's wrong, at least now. I don't know what was happening earlier, but maybe he was just paranoid.
Against, because that video wasn't some big treatise against leftist economics or anything even explicitly political. That part was additive. That was the only part that is relatively up for debate. That video proved that pornography is extremely addictive, that it has addicted the vast majority of the men in this country.
No, it didn't. You can't claim your own video proved something unless it's like a math thing and you actually, like, it didn't. Oh, maybe, yeah, so I might have had safe search turned on. John Doyle's fans need safe search turned on because if they see a stray elbow, they might get a boner and have to masturbate.
And that it is harming them psychologically, spiritually, sexually, etc. It proved that. And then from there, I extrapolated that if we continue to exist in that condition, then we will ultimately lose our country. That part I still believe, but I acknowledge that's just my inference. But the rest is irrefutable. And so what that means at the very least is that they wanted to stop you from realizing that our country's men are harming themselves and perhaps that you're harming yourself.
John, Google doesn't know you exist personally. This is what I don't get about, like, how do I put this? When someone like this, or someone like Terrence Popp will be like, YouTube is censoring me. No one at YouTube knows you exist. Unless you have, like, 10 million subscribers, YouTube does not know you exist. They do not care. They're filtering out certain words, or you have safe search turned on. They are not targeting you specifically. They don't know you exist. John, you only have 290,000 subscribers. That's a decent number, but it's not enough for YouTube to give a shit.
Which, if you remember, is something that I said in the video, that they literally want to hurt you. And if you subscribe to what I believe is a completely reasonable inference, which I outlined in that video as well, it also means that we're correct in saying that the people pulling the strings are using pornography as a weapon against you because they know that it demoralizes you and will eventually enable them to totally conquer you. So just keep that in mind, because ultimately this channel was not started
Actual Jake is better. That's definitely true.
To recite decades-old arguments against centrally planned economies. It was not started to introduce...
Don't ban the troll yet. I want to see if they're actually creative or if they're one of the same people. Oh, they got timed out. Okay, that's fine. I like to see if the trolls actually say anything create... No, it's fine. I like to see if the trolls ever actually come up with something interesting to say, or if it's the same shit posting. It's usually the same shit posting.
Contemporary arguments in favor of federalism. It was very simply started to help people, and that's not a virtue signal. Like, speaking very honestly, it's actually a political strategy, because, you know, obviously we care about helping people, but I'll share with you something that I realized a very long time ago, which is that this battle that we're in, if it were an intellectual battle, then we'd never lose, but we are. We're losing badly.
As we all know, the biggest brains on the planet are always Republicans, which is why colleges are full of Republicans.
Have been for a very long time, and that's because it's a spiritual battle, and we're not well. That's why we're losing, and so we want to help people because ultimately that is the pathway to success for us, and that's why this channel is so heavily targeted, because they know that if we can heal enough people spiritually, then we will just march down the field, and we just...
It's targeted because you're fashy and have literally advocated for physiogamy before, John. You're 2 steps away from starting to goose step. Maybe stop it, and you'll stop being demonetized.
just made some pretty decent progress with that. We just helped thousands of people break or begin to break their pornography addictions. Imagine what that butterfly effect is going to look like. I'm thinking about getting billboards too. Spread awareness? I don't know. More on that later. But the point is that we all knew that this video was...
Please, John, waste your money on billboards to tell people to stop jerking it. I really want to see that billboard.
Going to help a lot of people, and it has, and that's great. And just today, it's a Jacob Wool moment, but I was in a coffee shop, I was planning out these videos. I'm there for 10 minutes, and this kid comes up to me, and if you follow me on Instagram, you saw this because I posted on my story about it. You should definitely follow me, by the way, because I post pretty good content throughout the day. But he comes up to me, and he's like, bro...
He looks I shouldn't. Nope, I don't like to talk about how people look. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Bro, your video changed my life. I'm done with porn, bro. I'm done. Total Chad, totally high energy. But of course, this is just one side of the coin.
Imagine seeing John Doyle in a coffee shop or something, and you go, I gotta go talk to that guy and tell him I used to have a big problem with how many big nuts I used to do. John Doyle, thanks for helping me. I used to do so many big cummies. Thanks for stopping me. I appreciate it. Now I'll retain my seed.
Because remember, we knew that it was going to help the boys take control of themselves, but we also knew that we were going to get lots of backlash from the weak, pathetic, degenerate men of society, and we were correct, because of course, we're always correct. And it's important to note that I could have made a 2-hour video about why vanilla ice cream is inherently right-wing, which it is, and nobody panics because it's all part of the plan. But you make 1 2-hour anti-pornography dissertation, well then everybody panics because it's not part of the plan, because it highlights their degeneracy and their deviancy and their insecurities, and so they have to attack it. Painfully predictable.
John Doyle, I talk about almost every single video you post, and so does Jake. You're a hilarious lol cow. Like, look at all the, look at, out of your past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of your last 12 videos, I've covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've covered a majority of your videos. It has nothing to do with the fact that it was about porn, although that did make it funny. Because all the no-fap people are pretty funny to me. Look, if you genuinely don't want to masturbate, that's fine. That's your choice. But the self-righteousness that no-fap people tend to have is always really funny to me. Like, they think that keeping their cum in their balls is somehow going to give them superpowers. Just weird shit.
And so I would just like to take a second to illustrate the difference between the types of people that we're dealing with.
This video's definitely getting demonetized, by the way. That's freeing in a way, you know? Say whatever I want.
Here. Take a look at the coffee chat. I'll point out what we're all seeing. I'll point out the obvious. You've got an extremely positive canthal tilt. Those are the hunter eyes. You've got a steep angle on the brow ridge as indicated by the sheer volume.
Yep, here comes the physiognomy shit again. I'm not a Nazi. I just think the way people look is indicative of their moral spirit.
Of his eyebrows, obviously the locks of flowing hair, wider set nasal bridge, and the cope shield makes it difficult, but you can still see there's a very strong jawline present. He was about 6'1", solid shoulder to waist ratio, and so you take this guy, you take the...
John knows a sexy man when he sees one, okay? John is a bit of a, you know, he avoids all the harlots on the internet. He doesn't deal with the pornography. So in order to keep his mind sharp, he always brings up pictures of perfectly built men to keep his mind on the prize, okay? Can't be about all these sluts out here taking pictures of their soft bodies. Curvy, soft, disgusting bodies. John Doyle knows. He needs to focus. You gotta pay attention to what you want to be. So he spends all his time looking at hard, glistening, oily, rock hard defined male bodies, okay? That's what you gotta do if you want to be a real Republican man.
The coffee Chad. Now compare him to any one of the guys who got triggered by my anti-porn dissertation. I don't think I need to explain any further. I think the vindication speaks for itself here. You have the average porn fan versus the average hawk appreciator.
I always like when John Doyle's arguments are so bad, he just goes, people who disagree with me are ugly. Cool. You want to actually discuss any of the points that were made? It's funny how ugly people are beating the shit out of you verbally, and then all you can do is go, but you're ugly, though! Yeah, I am. Now about the things you said.
That's all I'll say about that. There's a strong connection between your spiritual health and your outward appearance, and the...
This is what I'm saying. Why do people call me a Nazi or a fascist? I don't know, man. Probably the physiogamy stuff, amongst other things.
Aforementioned dichotomy exemplifies that quite well. It's like we talked about in the video. The horseshoe theory of practical intelligence. You've got the low IQ, well, you're ugly. And you got the average IQ, well, that's actually an ad hominem attack. And then you've got the high IQ, you look spiritually unwell. Therefore, I will not listen to you, though I will pray for you.
You're not on the opposite end of the horseshoe, John. You're just on the dumb end, but you convinced yourself you're a super genius. For some reason? I don't know why.
Needs dopamine when you have vindication, boys. The last thing I'll say, though, a lot of people have been asking how they can help the channel or help what we do as far as that goes. I don't know. As far as like the channel goes, the best thing to do, go to the website, heckoffcommie.com, get a membership over there. That's how we keep the lights on. That's how we're able to do this, do cooler stuff, make better content, put up billboards, who even knows. And I try to only talk about it like once a month or so because I don't like plugging it. But, you know, if you want to help, that's the best way. And then you get access to a bunch of cool features through the website. And we're going to be putting a lot more content on the website once we get the new studio, the Stew, as Proxy Cameraman Aldo calls it, up and running. A lot more content in general is going to be coming out. We got big plans for this year. Very exciting. So if you want to help, go to the website, get a membership. It's only a couple bucks a month. And then you're literally helping bring people to our side, making them more disciplined, ultimately helping to build a pretty strong coalition.
Can we get to
we're excited.
Dr.
Remember,
Seuss
the more memberships we sell, the sooner I can have kids. And so if you're curious to see what happens when I start multiplying.
Oh, no! Oh, the poor person who decides to breed with John Doyle. That's going to be bad. That's going to be real bad.
That's the way to do it. I actually, jokes aside, I think that'll introduce opportunities to teach about homeschooling, building relationships with other young...
Oh, God, his kids are going to be the fasciest fascists to ever fash. It's going to be terrible.
Conservative families, things like that. I don't know too much about...
Doesn't he still live at home? He's literally moving out like this week. He's moving out this week and he's already talking about having children. John Doyle is way too young to have children. He's 21 years old, John. John, do not have children right now, for the love of God. If you can, God forbid, find someone to let you finally dump 14 years of no-fap seed in them, do not have children, please, for the love of God. Those kids are going to be so messed up.
About that right now, but when I do and I'm working through those things, I think it'll be good to share with people. So anyways, that's that. Very epic. And now we will talk about woke capitalism, which is something that has totally blindsided
I said 14 years. I picked a random number. He'd be too young for that to be a you know what I mean.
We never expected it, and we really don't have any idea how to combat it. And even now, no one is really offering any solutions, and so I figured that I'd throw my hat in the ring, give my thoughts, but I'll start by talking about my jersey here, because I've had this Patriots sticker on my laptop for a while, and people are always like, oh, he's a Patriots fan, and so I'll explain the lore, which is basically that I'm not necessarily a Patriots fan, and I'm not even necessarily a football fan, I'm just a Tom Brady fan, and that's for two reasons. The first of which being that he's a great source of inspiration for me, because people keep being like, Tom Brady's gonna lose, and then
Hannah coupon. Let me look. Having sex once in the location of your choosing. It's a sex coupon. Alright, I'll take it. When you say in the location of your choosing, is this about the venue or the other meaning of that phrase?
Tom Brady keeps being like, disagree. And then the other one is that I noticed that all of the worst people in the world consistently root against Tom Brady because he's white, because he's a Trump supporter, most importantly, because he's 6.
I don't think anyone, says things about Tom Brady, at least not in any significant number, because he's white? I don't know football, though.
Successful, and leftism is fundamentally just the political mobilization of the insecure, and they hate winners because it reminds them that they're losers, and so they hate Tom Brady because Tom Brady wins games. And I could literally make this into its own 2-hour dissertation. Why supporting Tom Brady is inherently right-wing.
I have no opinion on this. I don't think I've sat through an entire game of football in my entire life, so I got nothing on this one.
But I will finish by saying that as conservatives, we acknowledge and respect hierarchy. We acknowledge that success and competence are things to be aspired to, not to be envied or punished. And that requires accepting that Tom Brady is the GOAT. And I don't even want to hear, well, Deflategate, well, he kissed his son on the lips. Yeah, who spoon-fed you those narratives? The communist mainstream media, that's who.
You know, all these communists accusing people of kissing their children on the lips. CNN is not communist. ESPN is not communist. What are you talking about?
We're about to get into the NFL, how it ties into woke capitalism. I have a lot to say. I haven't been behind the desk as much as...
Ah, yes. NFL's woke capitalism. The same NFL that ended up firing, what's-his-face for kneeling during the national anthem. Very woke.
I would have liked to have been recently.
Colin Kaepernick, thank you. I don't do the football.
Tie this up by saying that the window of appreciation for white male excellence is closing, and so...
Don't worry, John. I don't think you were ever going to be in that category anyway. It's fine.
Have fun with it while you can, because it's closing quickly. Because even when Brady signs to a new club after 20 years in New England and wins yet another championship at 43 years old, you have people claiming it's racist just because he's white. And if trends continue, then white men aren't going to be able to be successful at anything anymore because we'll have
I like that he didn't source that article because it's definitely an article based on like one dipshit's tweet. Don't you hate articles like that are like, people are outraged about X, and then you read the article and it's like one idiot tweeted something stupid and it's just like outrage for the sake of outrage? Hate that.
Abdicate and yield to women and people of color because it's not about equality of opportunity anymore, and it's not even about equality of outcome anymore. It's about everyone getting a seat at the table except the white men because they think that you're...
It's really not. It's not at all. Who told you that, John? Why are you claiming that?
Or evil. It's actually total equality of outcome. It's like cumulative equality of outcome in the macro timeline, because what they're saying is, well, you know, white people occupied these positions in the past, so now they can't anymore to make up for that, because that's how we solve racism. So
no, I think typically when they're talking about stuff like this, it is equality of opportunity, right? The idea being that, like, I don't know, how do I put this? Disproportionately, NFL, and again, I don't like talking about sports because I don't do fucking sports. Historically, disproportionately, quarterbacks have been white people, despite the fact that a lot of the NFL is dominated by black athletes. Like, people pointing stuff like that out and being like, why is that?
Enjoy it while you can. Enjoy your Tom Brady's, enjoy your Donald Trumps, your PewDiePies, your Mike Lindells, your Jake Pauls, all while you can, because the woke doctrine is a cancer. It's not self-contained.
Wait, is Logan Paul an example of white male excellence? That is a steep curve you are grading on right there. Jesus Christ.
And it's going to spread everywhere. And again, this doesn't mean that people who aren't white men can't be good at things. Professional sports as a whole are like disproportionately dominated by black men. It's just to say that for whatever reason, white men are told that they have to apologize for being good at things simply because they're white, and that's dumb. So
who in society as a dominant force is asking that? Who? Who is asking that, John? Again, you're stirring up outrage in your audience over an imaginary problem you are claiming exists that doesn't.
But anyways, the NFL is a good segue into what we're talking about, because the NFL is an example of something that has monetized political correctness very successfully, especially considering the degree to which it exists in American society. And I'm not saying that this is done necessarily with malicious intent, but I'll give you two examples. And the first one is applicable to all professional sports, which is that they exist to monetize what is effectively inconsequential and politically correct tribalism. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sports, with following sports. That's not the point. The point is that the average American man, having been fed propaganda throughout his entire life, is sooner to take issue with someone criticizing his sports team than his state, his country, his church, etc.
Is he mad that people are football fans instead of nationalists? Oh, God.
Like, we don't even know what it means to be a man anymore. We don't know how we're supposed to exist in society. We don't know what it means to be an American.
John Doyle knows what it means to be a man, and it's not coming for a decade, okay? That's what real men do.
American, we don't know what our purpose is, and so we just invest all of that into sports ball, and we buy the tickets, and we watch.
You did a sports ball joke. Even I don't really do the sports ball joke anymore because that's been dated since like 2010.
The games, and we identify with our team, and we will live and die by it as though it's something more important than what it really is, which is literally just a sports team. And again, this is...
Is John gonna do sports are the opiates of the masses?
Not to say that sports don't bring people together or that they're unimportant. This is just to say that human nature is predisposed towards tribalism, us and them, which, by the way, doesn't mean that the them group is bad or worse than the us group, just that they're different, which is an obvious reality. And we're not allowed to acknowledge the existence of us in terms of nationality, in terms of faith, in terms of culture, in terms of gender now, but we're...
What are you talking about? white, straight Christian men are like the biggest political group in America. What are you talking about?
Totally allowed to channel all of that into the incredibly lucrative and totally woke enterprise of professional sports. Daddy, today at school we learned that America was founded upon racism and genocide and that white people owe reparations to everyone who isn't white. Oh, and also that Russell Wilson is closer to being a top 5 QB than Aaron Rodgers. Damn it, I told you we need to take kids out of schools.
Does John Doyle know what schools are like? Because that's not what schools are like.
It's the same thing with the last Super Bowl. Politically correct tribalism. Remember the Will Ferrell ad? Beat Norway. Norway's lame. Grr, Norway. Everyone thought that's so funny. Why? Because it was.
I don't remember that ad.
Funny. Picking petty fights.
I don't watch ads, typically.
Countries during one of the most widely broadcast events in the year is objectively a good bit. But ask yourself this, are we ever going to see a Beat Mexico commercial or something similar? No, we're not. We're not going to see a let's bring our jobs back from Mexico type commercial because that would be offensive because Mexico isn't a white country.
Generally, the rule in comedy is punching down. Not a great strategy. Punching up is usually the way to get laughs. If you wanted to know how to actually be funny, John.
You can only poke fun at white countries and white people, just like you can only criticize white countries and white people. And this is what woke capitalism does. General Motors, which is one of the biggest companies in the country, they take out an ad during the Super Bowl, which is one of the most significant events on the calendar of the United States, and they get funny man Will Ferrell to be funny, and they basically get to tease the literal...
Is Will Ferrell considered a funny man in 2021? Wasn't his last funny movie Elf? When did Elf come out? Hold on. Look at his IMDb. This is the important part of John Doyle's video. I've stopped giving a shit about John Doyle's shitty political takes because he just repeats himself constantly and beats the drum of right-wing culture war, so this is more interesting. Barb and Star go to Del Mar. I haven't seen that yet, although he's just a producer anyway. Didn't see Eurovision. Didn't see Holmes and Watson. I heard it was terrible. Didn't see Vice. Didn't see Daddy's Home 2. Saw Daddy's Home. It was bad. Anchorman 2 wasn't good. He was in Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie, but he was barely in it. But he was funny in that, but that's because I like Tim and Eric. The Other Guys was okay. So his last movie that I thought was at least okay was 2010. His last funny movie was like 11 years ago. And even then, it was funnier back then because I was younger. I don't think if I watched it today, I'd find it as funny. And prior to that, probably Step Brothers, which would have been in 2008. So, yeah, where was Elf on this list? Oh, that was just a truncated, hold on. Control F. Elf. Where's Elf? God damn it, give me Elf, you bitch. 2003. Elf was in 2003. Elf almost came out 20 years ago? Oh no! I feel like I just aged 100 years in 3 seconds. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, consider this. What? Oh God. Elf is almost 20 years old, so... Okay. So Elf is as old today as... Elf is as old today as Gremlins was when Elf came out. Does that make sense? Or Rocky IV. Elf is further away from today than Elf was from Lethal Weapon. Jesus Christ. Okay, we should probably talk about John Doyle now.
Federal country of Norway, like, hee, hey, Norway.
Doyle was 4 years old when Elf came out. True.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna, we're coming to get, we're gonna get you. And then everyone's happy. We feel this manufactured sense of unity as a country because we're mobilizing our screen people during the big game to bully a European country. But then the reality of the situation is that General Motors has a pretty bad habit of pouring jobs into other countries to displace American workers. Because as we'll talk about, woke capitalism.
I guess you shouldn't have free trade deals unless you also have freedom of movement for workers then. Funny how that works.
Has no ties to country. They don't care about America. They don't care about the American people. They just care about money, and they view you as a source of that. And they know that if they put Funny Man on the screen and tease the silly Europeans for a minute and a half, then they can make you clap like a seal. And so,
is John Doyle just now realizing that advertising is inherently manipulative? He is young, but I didn't think he was that young.
Understanding woke capitalism, we have to be clear, because woke capitalism doesn't mean the coffee shop in your neighborhood that has the gender-neutral bathroom signs. That's not what we're talking about. We're basically talking about conservatives having a real
I'm very woke. I have 2 gender-neutral bathrooms in my house.
Caesar moments when the big businesses in capitalism that we've spent the last 40 years shilling for are actually working.
It's not even a sign on the door. It's just a door. People go and pee and poop. It's degeneracy city up in here.
Steadfastly against us and our interests. And so to answer the question, how do we combat woke capitalism? Some will say we can boycott. As you may have noticed, that doesn't actually work. Some will say go woke. Get woke, go broke. You may have noticed that it actually isn't true. And even if it were true, it wouldn't matter because they're not actually going broke.
John Doyle throwing shade at Jeremy. I'm here for that.
Worst case scenario, they're losing like a little bit of money, but even that doesn't matter because what we're finding out is that people don't actually pursue what is most profitable. They pursue what is most valuable. And there is a difference because money is just a physical manifestation of value. And so what we're learning is that to the Leninists occupying these companies,
Can we have a hats off to all the Leninist, beautiful bangs there. You know what? For you, John, I'll keep the hat hair. Oh yeah, you like to see wet, sweaty bangs. We're gonna do a little hats off to all our comrades who are CEOs of major private corporations, I guess. What the fuck are you talking about, John? This is not how anything works. All these Leninist CEOs of private corporations? And yes, I was playing the Tetris theme earlier because I couldn't remember what the Soviet anthem sounded like. And Tetris is basically communism, but blocks.
Going woke is more valuable to them than making money. And in many cases, it's even worth losing money. And we'll come back to explain the corporate Leninists. But to answer the question...
Corporate Leninists? Can we get a corporate Leninists emote? Because that's pretty good. Just in quotes. Corporate Leninist.
How do we combat woke capitalism? We don't, because we can't. And the reason for that is that capitalism is a machine. It is a system. It is amoral. It's simply...
Throw off the shackles, comrade. You have nothing to lose but your bonds.
Monetizes what is popular, and it also creates and supplies demand. And so it's not a problem that can be solved with a few boycotting campaigns or what have you, but rather the symptom of a problem that will take decades to solve, assuming that we can even solve it. And that problem is that we have monetized our own self-destruction. Why is that? It requires a few components, most importantly being that there's a demand for it. And this doesn't mean that the demand necessarily exists, which of course it does, but just as demand leads to supply, supply can also lead to demand. Like you can put things in front of people that they didn't know that they wanted or that they didn't know even existed, and you can create demand for it. And it's even easier to do that with information. In the marketplace of ideas, because when you control the narratives and the flow of information, which they do, you can make people believe pretty much everything and believe it passionately. And there's a few reasons for this. You've got some people who legitimately believe these things, but more importantly, you have the masses. You have the masses of people who cannot think for themselves and frankly don't even have
Don't you love how John Doyle depersonalizes individuals he disagrees with in society and basically calls them NPCs instead of recognizing that the majority of people in society just don't agree with him? Instead, he has to act as though he's a big brain boy at the top 99th percentile of intelligence and everyone else is below him, and therefore he and like-minded people should actually control society and tell all the NPC plebs what to do. That's what fascism is.
any interest in thinking for themselves. Like so much of right-wing discourse is centered around, please, can you read these statistics proving that Black Lives Matter is predicated upon a lie? Bro, please, can you debate me on this subject so I can own you? And it's like, no one cares. They post a black square on Instagram because the screen people told them to. You're swiping up like, actually, if you read the independently conducted autopsy report, bro, no one cares. You care and I care. Like, that's great. But the average person doesn't care. And they will just conform to the predominant trends and narratives in society, which is why it's important that we take control of them. And this isn't brainwashing, by the way. It's not like if the actual brainwashing stopped, then people would just agree with us anyways. But no, it's not brainwashing.
Bro, people would totally agree with us if they weren't being brainwashed by the media. It's not that I run a Z-tier YouTube channel that no one gives a fuck about and I make terrible arguments. It's that they're being brainwashed by the Leninist corporate media. The internet's really stupid. You know that? We all have our little niches. My niche and how I bought a house on this shit. I bought a house making fun of people like this. Why?
To control the narratives to make them acknowledge the reality of gender, family structure, life, morality, and what have you. It's actually the opposite, which is allowing people to flourish in a society that doesn't seek their self-destruction for the expansion of the power and wealth of a tiny minority, and allowing them to do so without having to live their lives within a constant...
Thanks for the attempt, Daddy Sume. I think that might be a little hard to read, like once it gets sized down to emote size. I'll figure something out, though, but I appreciate the attempt.
Flow of information, because that's not how life was meant to be lived. But we have to do that now so that we can put the communists in the ground, metaphorically.
That's even more thinly veiled than in Minecraft. Metaphorically. Intellectually,
so that our kids and grandkids don't have to worry about it so intensely. And this gets back to the corporate Leninists, and I'm using that term loosely.
You don't say.
To describe a broader reality, which we'll get into. But basically, the timeline of leftist history is a cycle of exponentially more complex mental gymnastics where you take a theory and then you make a prediction based on it. And then when the prediction doesn't happen, you just double down and explain how your theory is actually still correct. And then you repeat this until you achieve tenure. And so...
Someone's a tanky. Hold on. Where is the tanky? Oh boy. Okay. As long as the tanky's not, you know, doing racial slurs or whatever, they can do what they want. I don't care.
So the original Marxist theory was that the...
As opposed to Republicans, who definitely don't do that. Conservatives don't take a bad idea and double down time and time again. Trickle-down economics.
Workers of the world would unite and realize their exploitation, and they would have a revolution against the capitalist class. But then that went ahead and didn't happen. And so Lenin came through and said that the masses would never start the revolution and that they needed a class of revolutionary elites to occupy the institutions in society that would grant them the power and influence.
I'm not a Marxist, John, nor am I like a Leninist or any of that shit. I'm just not. But the thing is, yeah, political theory changes over time and different people come along and change their like views on things. That's kind of why there's different labels for different kinds of political beliefs.
to educate the masses, and then the revolution could happen. Now, does this mean that every time some company goes woke that it's because there was a Marxist scholar behind the decision? No. Sure, like, yeah, some of these people in these positions that are pushing for this stuff
He literally just showed the racist depiction.
are legitimate Marxists, but the vast majority are just overly educated, eternally progressing virtue signalers. But when it comes to who is allowing these things to be pushed and to enter the...
I know I've used Marx. I know I've used metaphors and even quoted some things Marx says, but that doesn't make me a Marxist. I'm not a Marxist.
The mainstream, that's a different discussion, because the people at the top...
I can agree that certain individuals made certain good points and illustrated things with brevity without fully adopting their belief systems.
They could stop this woke stuff within a business day if they wanted to, but they don't. Why is that?
Probably because it appeals to a majority of their consumer base, because that's how businesses make decisions typically.
Because ultimately, wokeness is good for big business. It's definitely not good for small business, and it's definitely not good for the economy, but it is certainly good for big business. Just look at where big business put their money in 2020. They know that this coalition, it's probably going to piss off a lot of their customers in the meantime, but ultimately it's going to bring them more power and more wealth because it's going to consolidate the majority coalition in this country to be perfectly aligned with whatever the mainstream narrative is, which is how these people are so delusional that they think that they're the counterculture despite having the support of every institution in society. What are the consequences?
What are you talking about? I don't think being against racism is counterculture. It's not. Ideally, it's just the culture. It's not the entirety of the culture. We live in an incredibly divided country where there are a lot of people like John Doyle and a lot of people who are Trump supporters. I think even the calling something culture versus counterculture, I think is a bit of an antiquated way of describing our country in its current state, because it's not like we have a mainstream and then a small subset that goes against that. We basically have two different cultures going on in the United States right now, and I'm sure you could break that down more so within those groups, but you basically have left-leaning culture, which is stuff like, anything left of Fox News, basically. You have, the CNN, MSNBC, or whatever, which I'm not saying are leftists, but they are liberal. They're certainly corporatist, but they're like, hey, isn't racism bad? People who are more in touch with reality, if corporatist, all the way over to people like us who are pretty left-leaning. And then you have the right-wing reality culture, whatever you want to call it, where it's like, Fox News, InfoWars, Breitbart, Newsmax, people being pissed about Mr. Potato Head and being mad about Dr. Seuss and thinking that Bill Gates is, putting microchips in shots and stuff, It's not as much culture versus counterculture as it is conflicting cultures existing within the same country. And I do think that's a problem. And I don't know how this is going to resolve itself, because I really don't think it's going to end well when you have people in a country living together trying to make a democracy work in which half the population is divorced from reality. Obviously, I think the right is divorced from reality, but they would say the same about me. I think I'm right, though, but they also think they're right. That's kind of how people work. I don't know how it's going to work, but I think classifying either as counterculture doesn't really give the picture, and it's trying to use antiquated language to describe a modern phenomena.
Consequences of wokeness: mass immigration, feminism, also known as increased supply of labor, also known as decreased cost of labor, promotion of anti-Americanism, also known as erosion of sovereignty.
Notice that, and he said, interesting, he said that in conjunction with undocumented immigration, he also put feminism, and both conflated them with an increased labor force, implying John Doyle is against women working because it increases the number of potential workers, thus decreasing the payment, theoretically, because the supply of labor is higher. John Doyle is effectively trying to lampshade here the fact that he is against women working.
Also known as global free trade, which has been bankrupting our country for decades. Because remember, big business has no allegiance to our country or to its people, just to their money.
I guess we should probably tax them way more than in increased social programs to educate people so they aren't relying on no education, low-skill factory jobs.
And while we have to deal with the consequences of their decisions and their propaganda, they can just live in gated communities. They can go live somewhere else. They are post-national. They have evolved past the concept of a nation or a homeland, or so they think. They're globalists. And so given this,
3 echoes globalists. Oh no.
Would present two simple rules. The first one being that the state can either rule over the economy or the economy can either rule over the state. Someone's going to be at the top of the power hierarchy, and it's either going to be the state or big business. And the problem with it being big business is that we can't even vote them out. The amount of power that big business has over you and me in this country would be the focal point of a wet dream for a dictator of days past.
Oh, I guess we should do something about capitalism then, John. Democratizing the workplace, you say?
What does this mean? Well, it means that the government should be able to guarantee my freedom of speech in the new public square. That's what it means. They should have that power before some woke tech company has the power to take it away under the guise of private companies, which they ultimately seek to destroy anyways.
Then I guess you should nationalize these companies, John. Oh no, I sure would hate it if you started nationalizing companies.
And secondly, that politics is downstream from culture, but culture can also be downstream from politics. It isn't just a one-way street. It can go either way. Now, here's a thought experiment. Just ask yourself if these could be true. Is it at least possible that the United States of America, like many other nations throughout the history of the world, will reach a point where it will be impossible to salvage her? Is it at least
that happens to literally every country. Any political coalition, including that which makes up the United States government and its constituent states. Yeah, eventually, of course, that'll collapse. Maybe it's soon. Maybe it's hundreds of years from now. Who knows? No one knows. It's possible, but it happens. It's not fun, but that's just kind of how human society works. Things get built up. They sort of produce new and wonderful things. They collapse. Those ideas spread elsewhere where new societies form in different ways of coalescing. It happens.
Possible that the left, given how rapidly we've arrived at this state and given how...
Let me put it this way. If the United States collapsed tomorrow, it would be bad for everyone involved. But let's say a likely scenario. Let's say the federal government for some reason ceased to exist, whether it be a slow thing or a, immediate thing for whatever reason. There are still local and state governments. So even if we didn't have a federal government, then we'd probably just revert to, we're individual states. Michigan would have its own government that would still function, and there'd certainly be a lot of shaking up and changes in terms of how taxation works and power structures with how you're going to form, militaries and stuff. But, people tend to form governments. This is how human beings survive, as we organize in complicated ways. It's fine. It's not good, but I have no emotional attachment to the idea of America itself as a thing. I care about the people in the country, which is why it would probably be a bad idea for that sort of thing to happen, because any sort of collapse is not good and hurts and kills a lot of people. But, I don't think John seems to care about that as much as he cares about, this almost platonic ideal of America, this Reagan-esque idea of a city on a hill. Fuck all the people in the city, but as long as you kind of stand away from it and metaphorically look at this, and in your mind you picture this shining city, then that's what's of value. Not how people are living in the city, but how you perceive the city in your mind. It's not good. I don't think that's a healthy way of looking at the country you live in.
Little power we have left in society will do that damage within the next 10 years. Is it at least possible that given that we have spent the last century losing the culture, that we don't have enough time or power to...
Have you considered that you should be better then? Have you considered, if you believe in just hierarchies, John, that if your ideas are losing consistently, it's because you have bad ideas and you should get better ones?
Take back the culture, which would influence our politics. Given that politics can influence culture as well, and given that we can still hypothetically win elections, is it at least possible that the only path forward is to win elections? Now, we reach the obvious objection. Well, we've been winning elections this whole time. We've controlled the presidency. We've controlled all 3 branches of government at least twice. Well, what's different this time? So true. So true. I don't know. Let's continue the thought experiment. Given that our old attitude of don't use power because that's what the left would do, and even while they're doing it and beating us, we're actually winning because we have our principles. We're beautiful losers. Given that
I do not understand the imaginary version of the Republicans that John has in his head that operate very morally and within the bounds of the rules and don't cheat and rat fuck constantly. It's very strange.
that hasn't worked out at all, and given that, or assuming that, I should say, assuming that we care more about the future of the country that our children will grow up in than we do about these abstract principles, which, might I remind you, are literally the reason that your children are being indoctrinated into questioning their...
These abstract principles of giving a shit about other people. Who needs that trash?
Gender, into abandoning God, into hating you.
John, they're not being taught to hate you. Your kids will probably hate you because you're a bad person. If you want your kids not to hate you, stop being shitty. Also, probably don't have kids. You would be a really bad dad. Seriously.
And into hating themselves if they're white. Do you understand how
No one is teaching your kids to hate themselves because they're white.
Incredible that is? That they shifted the literal United States of America, the greatest nation in the history of the world, to where it is now in less than 100 years. Can you believe that? How did they do it?
Europe being in shambles after World War II, leading to American domination in the industrial fields. Probably that one. Also strong unions.
They did it because we had weak people representing us, so-called conservatives, who in effect have conserved nothing except their status as losers. And I don't need to remind you that when you lose in politics, it doesn't just mean, we'll get them next time. No, it actually means that you and I are going to have our lives destroyed, literally. We don't exist in their version of the future. They don't want unity. They don't want us. So...
I don't want fascists. John Doyle can come if he wants to stop being a fascist. That'd be great.
Where do we go? Where do you think? What'd they do to the opposition throughout history? Think about it. But anyways, given all that, is it at least possible that the only way forward, assuming that there is a way forward, is to elect people to represent us who are capable and not afraid of wielding power the same way that our enemies have done to us in the last 100 years? Is it at least possible? I don't know. It's just a thought experiment.
Can you give me an example of someone you consider capable? Because I think your standard's relatively low when your last choice was Donald Trump.
I think I used the word enemy there. Perhaps accidentally. I don't know. I've just always operated under the assumption that whoever wants to take my rights away is my enemy. And given that the communists...
No one wants to take your rights away, John.
...have no allegiance to my country, I don't exactly know if I should grant them the exemption of countrymen.
I want to take away citizenship from people I disagree with, but I'm very worried about the opposition doing bad things to me. Feels like this is maybe all projection.
Are you seriously suggesting that communists shouldn't be allowed to indoctrinate tens of millions of people into some...
John, there is almost no, and I mean this, there is like no communist in power in this country. Communism is not a force in politics in America and has not been since like the 20s. And not this 20s, the 100 years ago 20s. So probably cool it.
Supporting the destruction of the United...
John, name me 5 communists in the federal government, and bonus points. If you name AOC or Bernie on this list, then you have to masturbate. That's the rules, okay?
United States and its constitution and its economy and its culture and its history and its way of life and its language and its values and its future. That's not very conservative of you. Yeah, you're right. You're right, because if there's one thing I've learned studying conservative politics as much as I have, it's that actually wanting to conserve the country isn't conservative. No one actually wants to conserve anything. Even Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, it's a toy. It's still a staple of American culture.
Is Mr. Potato Head a staple of American culture? The only reason I know Mr. Potato Head exists is because of Toy Story. Did anyone give a shit about Mr. Potato Heads? Like, I know they existed in, like, the 60s and the 70s or whatever, and you had to buy actual potatoes and stick the things in the real potatoes. But, like, in the 90s, prior to Toy Story coming out, did anyone care about Mr. Potato Head? I don't know if I'd call it a staple of American culture, but you do you.
Conservatives think that they can just like let all the little things go. They can just prepare to conserve all the important things, but then they just go ahead and don't conserve those either. But
we're gonna storm Hasbro's headquarters and put a fake penis on every potato head in the joint, okay? You will not take the genitals away from my potato head. Again, John's completely misinterpreting the potato head thing. They named the brand of all potato head toys from Mr. Potato Heads to Potato Heads because they sell Mr. Potato Heads and Mrs. Potato Heads and baby potato heads that I think they call Spuds or something, and pet potato heads. So the entire brand, like if you were to go to a Toys R Us that doesn't exist anymore, let's say you went on Amazon.com, which is where you probably buy toys now, and you looked up this company, the brand name would be Potato Head, and then under Potato Head would be Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head and all the other bullshit. Mr. Potato Head still exists, John. Out of all the things you're worried about in society, and you're talking about grandiose, like, crazy bullshit, like America's collapsing, and you're focusing on Mr. Goddamn Potato Head? He's a fucking potato! He's a goddamn potato.
But the reality is that you have to defend everything. It's the horseshoe theory, yet again. You've got the low IQ people like, no, not potato head, damn it. And then you've got the average IQ people like, are you really upset about a potato? Then you've got the high IQ people like apathy.
I like that John is continually finding himself agreeing with what he considers to be low IQ people, but at no point does he go, wait a minute. Am I just stupid? No, it must be that horseshoe theory says that I'm actually smarter than even the most average of persons.
Towards incrementalism results inevitably in absolutism. Oreo is pro-trans, who cares? Me. You actually have to...
Oreo is pro-trans. They aren't even really pro-trans. Do you know what Oreo tweeted? Hold on. The thing he's saying is woke, and Oreo supports trans people is... Oreo tweeted, can you even see this? This is probably too small. I'll make it bigger. Trans people exist, which is the most neutral statement you could possibly make about trans people. It is a statement of reality. Trans people exist. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me know I exist. At no point is that like being overly or even relatively supportive of trans people. It's just, yep, trans people exist. We must stop this wokeness. What a cancer. God damn it.
To stand up. I'm inclined to think that they would have just kept it Mr. Potato Head gender neutral if people hadn't gotten mad about it. But even the compromise is a loss for us. Even the idea of, hey, we're going to keep Mr. Potato Head, don't worry, but we're also just going to add more gender neutral potatoes. And then conservatives go, phew.
That's not even really what they're saying. What? He's still misinterpreting what happened.
As long as I can keep Mr. Potato Head, I'm okay. It's that other stuff I didn't like. But here's the thing. We all knew that even though they're potatoes, even though they don't have any discerning features, we all still knew that they're Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head. Everybody knew that. But now as they have their 21st century rebrand, our children are being introduced to these ideas through their toys. This idea of, well, if this potato wants to be this gender, then it can be. Or if it wants to be this gender, then it can be. And it can marry the other potato. Any potato it wants.
Yes, that's also a reality. John, gay marriage was legalized in 2015 federally? How old were you in 2015? Let's see, you're 21 now. So you were like 15 years old? You were 15. Oh, that's easy. He was born in 2000, right? John, you were 15 when gay marriage was legalized. It's not even like weird for you, or it shouldn't be. Yeah. Gay people exist. Sorry, is that out on a limb? Am I pulling an Oreo? Am I being too woke by claiming that people who exist exist?
Look, there's no difference between them. They're all just potatoes. And again, that's true. But what's happening here is what's intended to happen here, which is why they did this in the first place. And you know that this is true because LGBT organizations are celebrating this as a victory. So they'll say, what? No, you're crazy. They're just potatoes. But then they're actually celebrating this because they know what it's going to do, which is teach children the framework for what they will then be taught thoroughly when they get to school, which is that there is no difference between boys and girls. Not mentally, not behaviorally, nothing. And if there is, it's only because of social constructs. The only difference between boys and girls is there.
Again, I don't know what John Doyle thinks school is like, but
reproductive organs, and even those don't decide what a boy or a girl is. That's up to you. Anyone can be a boy if they want to be. Anyone can be any gender they want to be. None of this has to make sense because it's being taught to children. And the iron law of propaganda is that the earlier you start conditioning, the less it actually has to make sense. That's why they do it with toys. You got the...
If John Doyle was allowed to teach a school curriculum or set a school curriculum, what do you think it would be like? World history up until sometime in the 1930s with maybe a focus on a certain person's rise to power, but then we just sort of ignore the rest. I don't know.
Miss Monopoly feminist wage gap propaganda game. It's literally about brainwashing the masses, like starting as young as possible to be a member of the homogenous coalition of woke.
Monopoly is more like a game for like when you're 12, not when you're like 5, but okay.
That can be mobilized at an instant to give power and wealth away from the American people to the ruling class via the privatized propaganda apparatuses that are owned and controlled by that same ruling class. But hey,
I guess, again, John, we should probably democratize the workplace then, huh? Funny how that works.
Hey, at least it's not explicitly the government, right? Right, conservatives? China's brainwashing Muslims. What the heck? Meanwhile, American children are internalizing the same genre of harmful propaganda, but it's...
Yes, clearly, putting people in concentration camps, beating them, forcing them to do labor, and removing their cultural identity is exactly the same as teaching kids that trans people exist. Good comparison, John.
It's okay because it's mostly being done by private companies. I don't want the Chinese telling the Muslims what to think, damn it. Hey, Dad, I saw the same thing on TV about us, and we talked about it in school, and no, not now, son. I'm trying to explain what I heard on Fox News. What's the recent example? Hyatt. Hyatt got backlash for trying to justify that it hosted CPAC in Orlando. Sure. Keep in mind that's the exception, not the rule. The woke coalition is cancerous and it will infect everything. And here's another question. CPAC is very basic tier conservatism, very establishment, very tip of the iceberg. And apparently we can't even have that. Even that is unacceptable. Then what is acceptable? Ask anyone who's mad at Hyatt.
Not being shitty? Have you considered not being shitty? Did John not realize he could choose to not be shitty? Because that'd be great. If he wants more people to, like, vote for people that he wants to vote for, he should want to vote for people who aren't shit. That'd be good.
Right now, and they won't have an answer. And it's not because they're hypocrites, and it's not because they're stupid, they're dumb. It's because the answer doesn't exist, because nothing is acceptable. They don't want unity. They don't want you. We have nothing in common anymore.
I certainly don't want unity with you, John. Stop talking forever, unless you completely change your personality.
There is nothing under which we can unify. It's irreparable. At this point, we're basically just fighting for control over the economy, the military, and the geography of the country.
Okay, you're gonna lose.
That's why we actually have to support the companies who are still American companies, not post-national companies, not even transnational companies, American companies. That's the most...
So every major company is out then?
Important factor when I take sponsors. So keep that in mind. They're taking a risk by actually prioritizing the American people and also by affiliating themselves with yours truly. iTarget's a great example. They make a sled that integrates with your smartphone.
Wow, that's a buttery smooth transition into your ad read, John. I know I just spent the last 30 minutes complaining about capitalism, but buy this shit because they're paying me to tell you to buy this shit, please. I know John Doyle doesn't have that accent, but in my head he does, so...
allow you to do dry fire training with almost any of your guns from your own house. It's epic. Go to itargetpro.com to check it out. Use the offer code Doyle, get a discount because we have to stick together. This is gonna be a very long process of undoing. I wish I could have sat here and told you we can beat woke capitalism by boycotting. But as we've explained, the reality is much worse than that, which is that woke capitalism, properly understood, is the consolidation of a woke coalition that seeks to impulsively sacrifice wealth and power to the ruling class because they've been convinced through propaganda that it's in their best interest. It is the monetization of the destruction of our country, literally. The day-to-day might just be, oh, Mr. Potato Head's now gender theory. How crazy can it get? But that's the macro trend. Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and of course, share the video with a friend. We love that. We love sharing the video with a friend. What's that? What's that, you ask? Oh, how am I going to bring the Garand to the new studio? Oh, you're right. I guess I'm going to have to leave it here. You know, I'm actually sad to hear you say that. I am sad to hear you say that because you're assuming that I only had one. Do you know how big of a problem hentai is? Do you know how big of a problem Japanese cartoon porn is? You think I'd only have one grand?
Why do Republicans hate firearm safety? John, do not point your rifle or gun at anything you don't intend to destroy. I assume you don't want to destroy your camera. Don't do that. Every gun is loaded. That's like gun safety 101. Every gun is loaded, even an unloaded gun. Jesus Christ.
This will defend. Thank you so much.
I hope it's at least just a replica. If it's a replica, that's fine. But, like, really?
For watching, and may God bless America.
He's such a... I'm me. I'm wearing a stupid steampunk hat. I wear tinfoil on conspiracy theory day. I have a living room full of Marvel bullshit that I love. And even I think this is a little too childish. He's making fucking sound effects with his mouth with his guns. It's not a fucking game, John. Jesus Christ. So that's John Doyle for the day. He will presumably be back once he's in his new studio, and that'll be fun. So let me do some bits messages and we'll move on. I gotta respond to, I gotta respond to Baja real quick, 1 sec. Dead air. Sorry. Saki. I love you, Baha. Alright, bits messages. Stuart Fan, no, I read that one. If you want a semi-cleanse after John Doyle, here's the answer to a question on domestic violence. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, someone give me a pic of Hannah, I'm making a coupon. Toeen24 with 20 bits says, he probably is also searching with quotes, so it looks for the exact wording, one letter or space off, and it's not going to be found. Every grifter does that and claims censorship. Pyromancer56 with 20 bits says, why does he even have the title of his show on his desk if he never shows the angle that displays it? In fairness, this desk has some stuff in it too. My desk is actually pretty cool in that the front of it is like open. Like I'm on the back end of the desk and I have drawers and stuff, but the front end actually has a space to put like knickknacks and stuff. I have some stuff in there, but no one can see that. It's up against a wall, even I can't see them, but sometimes it's just, you know, people do weird stuff. Pyromancer says, guy has a stereotypical dude bro look that makes me think scripted encounter. Who knows? Could be, but I'm not going to make that claim without evidence. Devious Chillster with 20 bits says, John is doing the Bible defense. I knew you would hate my message because it's true. Heh. I am bleeding, therefore I win. Toeing24 says, the bones! Pyromancer56 with, do you think John is ashamed of not having blonde hair? That's a good question. I don't know. Devious Chillster with 20 bits says, I don't like making fun of appearances. I don't like making fun of appearances, but when a dude is literally determining your worth through appearance, is it a pass? I don't know. Can I judge his appearance? I don't know. My call on that is no, just because I'm not going to stoop to their level, you know? I'm not typically a high road person, but in that particular case, I just don't like making fun of people's looks. I used to do it a lot, and it's just bad. It makes you look bad. It makes your arguments look bad. There's no point. Can we do some Danzy Sings for a cleanse? Found the masochist. Pyromancer says, I bet John would always refer to sex with his wife as breeding. Hey, babe, it's time to breed. Daddy Sume, with the coupon thing that I showed earlier. Towing24 with 20 bits. Kissing his kids on the lips was on video. Sure, I know that happened. I don't really care, though. Some families are weird and do that. MH Darkbeast says, I'll be 45 in 4 days. You're only as old as you feel, and I still collect toys. TMNT figures from NECA especially, so no judgment or shame for being a collector of nerdy things. I self-deprecate, but I wouldn't get the stuff if I didn't like it. I really like my plastic crap. Golda Linish, thanks for following. Bad Things 3, thanks for following. Towing24 with 20 bits says, also at least 3 of Brady's rings are a product of Spygate. No idea what that is. You linked a thing, but I'm not going to read about football voluntarily. Pyromancer says, yet he is alright with the sports ball nature of his politics. Speak Truth 16 says, John, the baby cultist. Mitchell Drummer says, I will fight to the death over the fact that Land of the Lost is the funniest Will Ferrell movie. I've not seen it. Bitter Grin, thank you for subscribing with 3 months in a row. Daddy Sume with 20 bits says, new Sume art, more NSFW doggo. Towing24 with 20 bits says, now I'm imagining John and Jeremy have a Lau Cal slap fight. After 5 minutes they start passionately making out. Pyromancer with 20 bits says, Hannah, we need a communism emote. Wind Chanter with a cleanse link. Quiet 185, thanks for the 200 bits, says, for corporate Leninism. Wind Chanter with 20 bits says, John is a right-wing goth calling everyone a conformist. Daddy Sume says, I can quote Hitler without being a Nazi. Kinda really depends on the context, doesn't it? Freaking Out 99, thanks for gifting some subs. Spazzy Shinobi, thanks for resubscribing. Pyromancer says the only issue John has with big business is that he isn't them. That's why he's always going on about how he wants to build his own network. Yeah. He doesn't see an issue with the power structure, he just wishes he was at the top of it. Towing24 says, John, everyone you vote for wants corporations to steppy. What the fuck is wrong with you? And does John have Alzheimer's? About a month ago he said voting was cringe. He did. Panda Man 1994 says, John, your mask is on so loose. Wind Chanter says, pretty sure John masturbates. He calls his pastor afterwards, maybe even during. Quig, thank you for resubscribing. Tigran, thank you for following. Daddy Sume says, so much projection, holy shit, and then Pyromancer with a link. Here's a video. And where was the other link? Gotta find the link, gotta find the link, gotta find the link. Link, link, link. Where did it go? There it is. Oh no. So Holiday, thanks for continuing your gift sub. Okay, that's pretty good. I kind of want to do this one. No BS has a new video called Marvel's WandaVision mistreats male characters like how Captain Marvel did. I disagree. I've seen all of WandaVision now. This video may contain spoilers for WandaVision. So if you've not watched WandaVision and you care about spoilers, you should probably not watch this with us, but should be interesting. I really enjoyed WandaVision. Here's my spoiler-free review, since maybe you clicked on this video and you want to know if you want to watch WandaVision for some reason. I don't know. WandaVision is an excellent show. It's a really good introduction to Marvel Studios coming to TV. I know they've had a subsidiary do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and some other stuff. And I know they did the Netflix shows, but those are a bit disconnected from the MCU as a whole. WandaVision is a wonderful introduction to the MCU to television proper. I think it's a really good homage to the history of sort of television sitcoms and how they've evolved over time. It's also a really good commentary on grief and how people deal with that grief. I think it adds a lot of characterization to both Wanda and Vision. There's some other secondary characters like the neighbor that I really, really love. And overall, I think it's an excellent, like little mini series. 8 episodes. If you're into the Marvel stuff, definitely check it out. I don't know. It's a good show. That's my spoiler-free review. Go watch it. 9 episodes. Sorry. Now, spoiler warning. We're going to watch this video. Don't know if he's going to spoil, but just in case.
Hello and welcome back to No BS. Today we turn to talking about a pretty popular TV show on Disney Plus called WandaVision. As you could see by the background here, WandaVision is a TV show based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe characters of Wanda and Vision. They put their names together. They have a little show on Disney Plus. It's actually the first Marvel piece of media in about 2 years. Yeah, last thing to come out from Marvel was 2019 before the whole pandemic got everything canceled and pushed last year in 2020. And now we're in 2021. And actually, for those who don't know, Marvel is supposed to have a pretty big year. I don't know if everything's going to stay on schedule yet, but they have something planned for almost every week this year, including
2 weeks, yeah, next week, actually, they're doing the behind-the-scenes, like, documentary on WandaVision and how they made it, and then I think the week after, Falcon and Winter Soldier starts.
A number of shows, including the first one we're talking about today, WandaVision. Now, WandaVision is pretty darn good. I like it. It's fun. It's not perfect, though, and we're going to talk about some of the issues today, specifically with the cast and the way characters are treated, and the way it appears to be a bit of a gender play, a bit of a pro-girls, anti-guys kind of thing. And
what? Okay, again, spoilers for WandaVision. WandaVision is about primarily Wanda Maximoff's grief over the loss of Vision in Infinity War, over losing 5 years during the snap, previous losses of her parents and her brother Pietro. It's about loss. So she is the protagonist, more or less, of the show, but there's other people around. Vision is in it, and I think Paul Bettany does a great job. I really loved Paul Bettany in this series, and I hope he returns. Again, spoilers. It appears he might return at some point in the future, but I really liked him in this. It was a Wanda-centric story. The show's called WandaVision, and the two main characters were Wanda and Vision. There were other B-plot things going on with some of the people outside of the Hex. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. Darcy Lewis, who made her first appearance in Thor. I didn't really like her a ton in Thor and Thor 2, but I actually really liked her here. I thought she was used an appropriate amount, and she was funny. I liked her. Agent Wu, who initially appeared in Ant-Man and the Wasp, who was great here. He was one of my favorite characters. He was not used a ton, but he was used really well when he was used. And then Monica Rambeau, who was, if you saw Captain Marvel, you know, the little girl in Captain Marvel, who was the daughter of the friend of Brie Larson's character. She's an adult now, and she's also a character. So, like, it's good. It's a good series. I didn't see really a ton of overtones about gender. Certainly the main character, again, who is Wanda, is a woman, but it wasn't, like, focused around that as much as it was just focusing around her grief and her family. I didn't really get the idea that they were talking about gender in any particular way. It just so happens that the main character is a woman, and the main villain's a woman, and some of the other, like secondary characters are also women. It wasn't about the fact that they were women. Like, if you wanted to do a Bechdel test on this show, it would pass with flying colors, probably.
Before we even get to that, though, I also want to mention a few other things. The acting is great. Wanda does a great job. Elizabeth Olsen is a very talented, very beautiful actress. The co-star, Paul Bettany as Vision, is doing extremely well, but he's kind of handicapped. He's kind of put in this position where Wanda is this overpowered character. She's
the main character, and in some ways, sort of an anti-hero in the story based on the things she does. It's about her. He's a secondary character. He's like a second lead. Don't get me wrong. He's very important. The show is called WandaVision. Like, it's both of them. But Wanda is the POV character for the most part. Vision is like part of the plot, but it's her story because, as it turns out, again, spoilers. This is going to be the first spoiler I'm actually going to say. So if you don't want spoilers for WandaVision, give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The version of Vision that we see for most of the show isn't even real. He's a construct that Wanda made through her grief. So, of course the show focuses on her. She's real and Vision isn't. It's important her interactions with him, of course. But what's more important is, like, her and what's going on with her because she's real.
Like the new Captain Marvel in this show. She was on the Avengers before. She's been with the Avengers since 2015, but she kind of didn't have as much power as she has now. Now she's kind of gained a lot more power. She's learned to use her magic skills. She's kind of like this witch character who used to just kind of spit red smoke out of her hands and control a few people's minds. But at this point, she seems to be controlling a whole town in this show.
Which is more in line with her comic appearances. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, is one of the most powerful characters in the comics. Some people would argue the most powerful. Franklin Richards is pretty up there too. He's also a reality warper. But yeah, Wanda is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe because of her reality warping abilities. It's actually interesting that in the MCU they started her off as much less powerful, and then only now are we seeing her get, like, coming into her own as the Scarlet Witch. I like that. I like the character progression. I like that she didn't just start off OP, but she's actually having to work for it. And now at the end of WandaVision, from the after credits scenes, we're seeing that she's studying to learn more about her powers. That's cool. I'm excited to see what she does when she shows up in Doctor Strange 2. But yeah, that's pretty in line with the character in the comics. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, is a Nexus being. A Nexus being... How do I explain Nexus beings? Nexus beings are... I don't know how I can even word this. Hold on. I'll just read you off the Marvel Wikipedia. Nexus beings are rare individual entities with the ability to affect probability and thus the future, thereby altering the flow of the universal time stream. These beings, each referred to as a nexus, acts as the keystones of the multiverse and are crucial to its ultimate coherence and stability. Nexus beings are vigilantly watched over by cosmic forces such as the Time Variance Authority. By the way, the Time Variance Authority is going to show up in the Loki show. Loki is going to go and work for the Time Variance Authority against his will. So I'm excited for that. I think that'll be fun. And the Timekeepers to be aware of any temporal changes that the Nexi may cause to the time stream and act accordingly. One Nexus being alone supposedly exists on each of the parallel worlds of the multiverse, personifies the character of their respective realm, and serves as the focal point or anchor of that reality. Each being also acts as a node of mystic energy for their respective worlds. The physics of the dimensional universe also dictate that no two Nexus beings can exist on the same plane of reality, and can only project onto other realms with an active Nexus being as an apparition. Comic book shit, basically. Either way, Wanda Maximoff is one of these Nexus beings. Known Nexus beings include Scarlet Witch, Lore, Elin, Leopard Tippett, oh god, so now we're getting into characters I don't know about. Size, Neg, Merlin, Kang the Conqueror, Franklin Richards, Vision of Earth 90110, some different universe, Jean Greys, and Odin Borson, which is Odin, but from an alternate universe. Ultravision. So, Wanda is a Nexus being for 616, which is the main Marvel continuity. She's supposed to be powerful.
And we're going to talk...
They're bringing Kang the Conqueror into the MCU. I'm pretty excited. That'll be fun.
About how, in a lot of ways, they're mistreating a lot of the male characters. Like, again, we're getting a bit of a Captain Marvel vibe off of this.
What are you talking about? The main characters in this show are women! Where are the men? Where are the men? Really? This is where we're at?
Where all the girls are awesome and super powered and all.
This is why I find it funny when, like, to an extent, rightfully so, people make fun of, specifically people like this, make fun of the, like, girl power scene from Avengers Endgame, which is a little eye-rolling in its, how do I put this? In how contrived it is. Like, I did enjoy how, like, the boys made fun of that with the whole girls get it done thing, because it is contrived, and it was a little like, there are better ways to do, like, powerful and strong female characters. But it's always funny to me when people are like, well, why do they do that? People like this are just gonna make fun of it. People like this, or people like The Quartering, or whoever. But then a show like WandaVision comes along, then in no way is even any of its themes aren't really about, like, gender or gender power dynamics. Not really. But just because it's actually starring competent, well-acted, like, female characters, like Wanda, like the neighbor who becomes important in the show, they're still bitching about it and saying it's feminist propaganda. No, it's not. The fact that they're women had almost nothing to do with the plot. It was just like a really good show that happens to star women. What?
All the guys are mistreated, they're stupid, or they're taken advantage of.
What? Vision is, again, one of the main characters, and is treated better than any of the other material he's been in the Marvel Universe. He's allowed to be funny, he's allowed to be dramatic, he's allowed to have a commanding presence, he's allowed to be inquisitive and discover things about the plot. Agent Wu is an amazing character that they're even talking about giving a spin-off, Agents of Atlas, because he's so popular. What?
Or kind of treated as second-class citizens. We're going to go through the cast and the similarities to Captain Marvel real soon too, so it's going to be pretty fun, pretty interesting. And right out the gate, as you could tell by this picture right here, you could see there's this black chick character. She's
you know her name, you watch the show.
Actually the daughter of a character from the Captain Marvel movie. She's
Yeah, she's Monica Rambeau, also known as Spectrum, also known as Captain Marvel, also known as Photon. She's been a character in comics for decades. She was actually Captain Marvel prior to Carol Danvers becoming Captain Marvel, but then that changed and she became, I don't remember if it was Photon at that point or if it was Spectrum. Either way, she's been a character in the comics for a long time. In fact, she was the leader of the Avengers at one point. Like, she's significant. Is he gonna be like... It just annoys me that he says, like, this black chick. Like, would you describe Scarlet Witch as some white chick? Or would you describe Paul Bettany's character as some red guy? Like, you don't do that to them. It's just weird.
Rambeau is their last name. Her mom was Captain Marvel's best friend, and now she's grown up and become a sort of secret agent too. And going forward, there will be some mild spoilers. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to spoil everything though. Like, I'm just going to go through a little bit of this and that, and watching this will still be the best thing. If you haven't watched it and you're worried about any spoilers, I don't recommend going much further in the video. But again, we're just talking about broad strokes. We're talking about a few characters, a few things going on. The end of the show hasn't even happened yet, so the end of the show is still a few weeks away, so we're not gonna...
Oh, this was even in February, yeah, this was still in February, and he's bitching about it already? Jesus.
To get to that, obviously, but we have enough to talk about to kind of get in.
Honestly, I thought he was gonna bring up the Quicksilver boner joke in the last episode and use that as an example, but that hadn't even come out yet. So what's he talking about?
To this and get into things specifically right now. So essentially what happens, let's talk about the premise. We really don't know what's going on in the first couple episodes, but after a while we kind of come to realize that Scarlet Witch is the main character. That's Wanda. Her name's Wanda.
Boy, hold on. A couple episodes in, we figure out that Scarlet Witch is the main character. How in the world could we have known that this Marvel production stars a woman? Oh no. Oh no.
Wanda Maximoff. Her superhero name is Scarlet Witch. They don't actually use that term in the movies or show very much, except maybe in one episode here. But the point is, WandaVision kind of mind controls this city. That's a kind of guess at what's going on. We still don't know 100%, but basically she has this town, this small town taken over, and she kind of turns it into a sitcom, like a TV show, and each episode has a show in each decade. Like there's a 60s, 70s episode, there's an 80s, 90s episode. The last one I just watched was like an early 2000s parody. They go through the ages and kind of make parodies of different sitcoms, and at first it's just kind of fun and quirky, but you start to realize there's something going on underneath. Like Wanda is kind of maybe possibly mind controlling everyone in this town, and that's why there's this like kind of bubble around it. That
how many episodes had come out by the 25th? Hold on, how stupid is he? I need to double check this. Okay, so he'd seen up to episode 7 at this point, presumably. By episode 7, if you're actually watching the show, you know basically what's happening. You know that Wanda is both altering reality with her powers, which is explicitly said multiple times, and that she's mind controlling the residents, which is also explicitly said multiple times. Why is he acting like he doesn't know at this point?
Causes everyone to kind of do what she wants, and apparently she wants to go through this kind of fake life. She's trying to pretend everything's okay, and I think you could guess why she might do that. She has a lot of stress, a lot of drama. She just went through Avengers Endgame, the last Avengers movie. Like half the Avengers died. Yes, they got brought back at the end of that movie, but not everyone. The one person that didn't get brought back was Vision. Vision was...
And Black Widow and Iron Man and Captain America became an old man and died.
Wanda's boyfriend.
The death is implied in Spider-Man Far From Home, and is probably going to come up in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Friend before the whole Avengers Endgame Infinity War saga, but he was killed at the end of Infinity War, and one can assume that Wanda
and Loki, true,
got mad and went on this whole tirade because of that. And in addition, she brings Vision back, and that's kind of the first step. That's the first character that we get that's kind of a hollow shell of a character. Like Vision maybe kind of starting to come out of his hypnotized state, but still at the core he's being controlled by Wanda. Wanda's controlling everyone. So that's kind of the base premise of what I'm talking.
Okay, but Vision has more characterization and time on screen in this than he had in all the previous Marvel movies, and I'm even including his appearances as Jarvis in that count. Like, yeah, Baja says, I'm confused what this dude has been watching. It's clear how it's gonna end. Yeah, I don't understand what he doesn't understand. And also, describing Vision as that, as a hollow character in this, is so weird, considering how much more characterization and how interesting and fun the performance is in this. For like a comic book show, you know, it's still a comic book show, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, except when it's horrifying and there is some like scary shit. Not like boo scary, but like there's a scene when Vision is starting to suspect that Wanda is mind controlling everyone because she's starting to sort of lose control on being able to control him, and Vision uses Vision powers to de-brainwash one of the people, and immediately they freak out and they're like, where am I? Please, my dad is sick. I need to call him. Please make her stop. It hurts when she's controlling me. Make it stop. And then Vision immediately puts him back under, and he's back to being sitcom guy, and he's making jokes. It's creepy. There's some creepy stuff like that. But like Vision has a lot to do in this. Vision is one of the main characters in this. How can you say he's hollow?
About where it's like she's the Captain Marvel, she's the overpowered girl, and in addition she's controlling all the guys, including her boyfriend. Like she won't even tell him the truth, she won't even be honest with her husband.
It's the premise of the show, and she's not controlling everyone. Part of the conflict is that there are people outside of the Hex, which is the area in which she is controlling, that are trying to deal with the situation, including Agent Wu and Darcy and Monica. And then it turns out, again, spoilers! Spoilers! The next door neighbor turns out to be Agatha Harkness, another witch from the comics, who's there also causing trouble. Like, she's not mind controlling everyone. Even later in the show, she's not really controlling Vision. He's outwardly and intentionally trying to investigate what is happening because he's not under her control anymore. We're on a hype train again. Thank you.
Boyfriend, the father of her children, which is a storyline that comes up in this show too. They have kids, which are two boys, which are also kind of mind controlled. Everything is...
What? No, they're not! It was an explicit plot detail that she cannot control the children. Did he watch the show? Did he watch the show?
Is mind controlled, and the only characters that have any kind of authority or control of their lives, anyone that does anything good, is Wanda and this Black Rambo chick. And it's...
Why is it... Oh, this guy's a piece of shit. Monica Rambeau. Or, if you want to call her one of her comic book names, that's also fine.
Just very similar chemistry and makeup to what happened in Captain Marvel. So I think this is similar to Captain Marvel in a lot of ways. Girl power,
Oh my god, he even got ratioed on his own channel. Even No BS fans are like, this is bullshit. Oh my god. Okay, let's read these comments. This is actually great. He's getting ratioed on his own goddamn channel, and that's beautiful. Wanda was always meant to be overpowered. In the comics, she's easily one of, if not the most powerful beings in the universe, but unlike Captain Marvel, Wanda had to learn how to use her powers over the years, so there was actual growth. Don't know if I agree about that. Captain Marvel still did train and stuff, as we saw in the movie, but whatever. This one's a bit of a stretch. Clearly you were bored and couldn't think of a good video idea. Oh, that's pretty good. Weak little man. Men are not mistreated in this show. The main character just so happens to be a well-written female character that has extraordinary powers. Grow a pair.
Guy, woke kind of influences, but
what are his ratios normally? Does he like get ratioed all the time now? I don't watch a lot of No BS on this, but does he get ratioed on like every video, or is this video just so bad that even his fans are like, this is stupid? I don't know. What's this? No, this one he's not getting ratioed at all. What about a more recent video? No. I think that video's just so bad that even his fans are like, what is this trash? That one's a little worse. How bad do you have to be for a fan of No BS to even look at No BS and be like,
Like Captain Marvel, there still is some fun to it. It's still watchable, but I think WandaVision has a better promise. It's going to depend on how it ends, on how all the episodes come together. It's being released weekly, so we won't know right away.
83%
But
of
right
level
out
2
the gate,
hype
I think you could see what's
Nice.
going on. And this is a list of the cast of characters. We're going to go through each character a little more specifically. I'll show you some pictures if you're not familiar with them. But basically, we got Elizabeth Olsen. She's the main character controlling the whole town. Vision's her boyfriend. She's supposed to be her counterpart, but
husband. They're married in this show.
She's kind of made him into her pet, and that's a big kind of red flag to me. I don't think that would work in the reverse. That's another thing that kind of...
It's about her grief and bringing back her dead lover. Jesus Christ.
And to think about it, if this would be offensive in the reverse, like if Vision was controlling a Wanda character.
That literally happened in the comics. That literally happened in the comics. Vision created a family after, I think this was after Wanda died or something. Comics are weird like that. People die all the time and come back to life. That literally happened. After that happened, he created a Wanda Vision robot and some kids, and they all lived together. That was a thing that happened in the comics. So don't give me this, what if they did it in reverse? They literally did it in reverse before WandaVision, and this is like a good comic.
I think Disney would not let...
Ooh, 32% of the hype train already. Gosh darn. 57% now.
That happened. I don't think that would fly with SJ.
Yeah, Sparky the dog actually originated in the comics. He was a robot in the comics, and they brought him into the show. They took some elements of the Vision comics where he built the family and put it into WandaVision.
W's either, but this is totally okay because that's just how it works in this. That's just how things are. So the next main characters to mention, we got this chick, which is their neighbor. I believe this is their neighbors that come over in one of the early episodes. And what happens there offhand is this guy ends up having a sort of heart attack and gets saved by...
He's choking. Wanda makes him choke. Did you watch the show or did you watch the trailer and try and extrapolate what is happening? Wanda makes him choke because he starts to question what's going on and break free of her control, so she causes him to choke, and then Vision saves him from choking.
Wanda, like another instance of a guy kind of getting mistreated by the whole Wanda thing. And then the next character
This happens to women too later in the show. What are you talking about? There's a scene later where something similar happens. Where a woman at basically like a Rotary Club type meeting is talking with Wanda, and she starts to like question stuff going on, and then Wanda freaks out also because SWORD, which is an organization, actually it's technically SWORD because Wu is working with SWORD, but it's Wu and Darcy who are trying to send a message to Wanda via the radio in the Hex. Start saying like, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Because at that point they don't know Wanda's in charge of this. And Wanda freaks out, and it causes the woman who's with Wanda to like smash a glass in her hand, and she gets all bloodied. Like, this happens multiple times in the show where someone starts to figure out what's going on or starts to lose control, and Wanda does something to them to stop this, or they reverse time or whatever. That happens multiple times in the show.
Is Catherine Hahn, who's like the neighbor. Her character's name is Agnes, and she's actually a funny actress. She's been around a while, really entertaining, and she's kind of like the one of the only other characters that seems to know what's going on, but she plays along.
It's, again, spoilers. I've said spoilers multiple times. It's because she's secretly the villain and has been pulling strings behind the scenes all along as well.
And a few times she kind of...
Because she's Agatha Harkness from the comics. She plays this character. Obviously, they changed some stuff. But she's this character from the comics, as it turns out.
Says something, but then she just plays along too. But this goes along...
Yes, he does remember her name, because she's white.
With it as well, because she's another girl that's kind of getting a more positive rendition than all the other guys. This is Monica Rambeau character I was talking about. She has plenty of authority. She's like the cool agent trying to figure this story out. Randall Park is another good example.
Him and Wu and Monica are working together to figure out the mystery of what is happening. They're like a duo in this, along with Darcy is sort of like also a sidekick. Hype train at 75%. Thank you, everyone.
He plays Jimmy Woo, an FBI agent, and he gets relegated to like a comic relief character.
What? He's one of the main characters, and he has some funny moments, but he's not like slapstick. Darcy's more like a slapstick, silly character. Wu is like a competent FBI agent, especially in like the final episode, helps call in the FBI to stop the bad guy from from SWORD, from like killing people and from like blaming Vision. What? Rubblum, thank you for gifting 5 subs to the community.
He's not really allowed to do anything cool. He doesn't have the authority and the...
He does tons of cool shit! Oh my god. He has the best character arc in the MCU. He started out in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Scott Lang, the Ant-Man, is doing card tricks at him, and Wu's like, how do you do that card trick, Scott? And then later in that movie, you see him Googling how to do card tricks. And then in this, he can do card tricks. And then in the climax of this, he gets handcuffed so he can't, like, call in the FBI to stop the evil sword people's plans. And it turns out because he knows sleight of hand magic, he knows how to escape handcuffs. He's like a fun character, and they're talking about giving him a spin-off, Agents of Atlas, because that character starred in comics called Agents of Atlas, which they might do, and I'd watch that show. I like that guy.
The same kinds of...
Rublum, thank you for gifting 3 more subs to the community. Wow, level 4 complete. Are we going to do level 5 hype trains in a day? That would be bonkers.
Badass scenes as Monica Rambeau, or even
43% to level 5. We might do it.
This Kat Dennings character. Darcy Lewis is a character that's in there. She's allowed to be funny. She's kind of the comic relief.
Wait, before you were mad... Okay, before you were mad that Wu is just a comic relief character, which he isn't anyway, and then you say, well, Kat Dennings' character gets to be funny. Stay consistent within the same paragraph. Pyromancer. Wowzers. Gifting 10 subs to the community. We're killing it today on hype trains. That's 2 level 5 hype trains. That's absolutely bananas. Thank you.
And she does a lot of great lines. She's the one that's really, really super smart and figuring everything out. That's another positive male character, while Randall Park gets to be like this kind of butt of the jokes. He doesn't really get to...
Oh my god, it's literally the opposite. What are you talking about? Darcy is a much more slapsticky character, although I like her in this, even though I didn't, like, care for her a ton in the Thor movies. I don't think I hated her as much as other people did, but, like, I could take or leave her. But in this, I actually thought she was pretty funny, and she was used appropriately. Randall Park, who's playing Wu, is, like, really good in this. He's a really entertaining character. He's a good balance between, he has quips, but he's also, like, competent. He's competent at his job, and he's good. He's just lying about what happens in the show.
To go into the scenes, he's kind of just thrown around. He's kind of just there, and that's the thing. It's just the trend. And then we go to Evan Peters, who's playing Quicksilver, or a version of Wanda's brother. He's one character that kind of...
He actually, as we find out in the last episode, is playing Ralph Boner. His name is Ralph Boner.
Knows what's going on, but at the same time, he's being mind controlled. He's treated like a beta. They're all subjugated under Wanda.
Fellas, is it beta to be controlled by one of the most powerful sorceresses in the multiverse? Fucking beta males.
And I think that's worth pointing out, not because I'm upset, not because I'm angry, like I'm not trying to be all anti this and all that, but
it's literally that. I agree with one of these comments. You could not think of a video for this day and you're like, fuck it, I'll bitch about WandaVision. Gotta get those WandaVision clicks with that SEO juice.
I think it makes sense, especially in the world these people have set up for us. I mean, WandaVision, part of Marvel, it's part of things getting woke, right?
Baha says, I've tried to type this multiple times, but I'm typing too fast to keep freezing my laptop. This guy has clearly never experienced grief. This show is all about how Wanda is in denial about losing Vision. It's sad and raw. It's effing sad. Wanda is trying to create the life she wanted with Vision. Of course she won't tell him the truth because it would ruin this denial world she's created. I don't know what this guy wants. The show literally shows Wanda as a traditional housewife, right? You'd think they'd love it. Her ideal life is being a 1950s housewife while Vision, her husband, goes off to work every day and she takes care of their 2 children. Isn't this what they say they want? What do they want? Do they even know what they want? Like, what?
Right now, things getting really, really pro-girl, anti-guy, just anything that is gonna be called whatever. This is Wanda's show, and clearly she's the lead, and it's kind of...
By the way, if you're still here and you didn't see WandaVision, hold on. WandaVision... Scarlet Witch. Her costume at the end of this is awesome. She finally gets her, like, full Scarlet Witch costume, and not just the Halloween costume one from the trailers, but, like, a real one that she's presumably going to wear in future movies. And it's fantastic. The MCU is so good at production design. Like, this is basically ideal in terms of bringing a comic book character with their costume to life while also making the changes that you need to change for live action. It's fantastic. And there's also she like puts a hood up and has a cape in one version. I don't know if there's a picture of that, but they did show her at the end with the hood up, and it looks pretty cool. Great stuff. I also kind of hope Vision, when he comes back, because right now he's White Vision, which is basically just Vision, but with no color. I kind of hope when Vision comes back and eventually becomes Vision again, I kind of hope he goes with the classic Vision color scheme that looks more like this with this cape. Obviously, not looking like a Halloween costume, but similar to, like, this is Wanda's Halloween costume version of the classic suit, and this is, like, the real version, air quotes. Do the same thing, but with this Vision outfit. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, even though it's cheesy. I like when stuff looks like the comics. I always like when they can do that.
Kind of also disappointing in a way, too, because I think many didn't know how
Vision is his name in the comics. That's better. Thank you.
Play out. Like, many might have guessed, oh, it's going to be them as co-stars, but the truth is, the way it's playing out is Wanda's the star, Vision is slowly trying to figure things.
I can't have women as a main character in a TV show.
Out. Wanda is like either the hero or the villain, depending on how it goes, depending on how you look at it. But clearly, she is more in control. She is the dominant alpha. All the guys are betas or simps, and
this is so bad, even for him.
That's just the kind of thing that's kind of got to make you think. You kind of got to be like, hey, what's going on? Why is all this stuff going against the guys and for the girls? I mean, it makes sense when you know what's going on with.
How can you even be a main character of a show if you don't have a penis? How does this work?
Disney, all the guys are basically relegated to being either jerks or mind controlled or doing silly stuff, like the Randall Park character has been known to get coffee while the Kat Dennings character makes all the fun.
What? He brought his friends coffee because he's their friend. It's not like they said, woo, go get us some coffee. Like, the scene begins with him just super happy. He's bringing his friends coffee into work that day because he's like a good guy. What the fuck? He's not the coffee bitch. He's like a competent FBI agent.
On jokes and discovers everything magically because she's all super smart, just like how WandaVision is all powerful now. She's got like every power you can imagine.
Did he just call Scarlet Witch or Wanda WandaVision? Is he drunk during this video? Is that why it's so bad?
Overpowered her, much like what they did with Captain Marvel. And does it ruin the show? Hard to say right now. It doesn't have an ending yet, but I'm enjoying it. I'm not saying this because I hate things. I really actually love this Scarlet Witch character. Like, she's super hot, super fun to watch, doing great different acting, comedy, drama. She has kids. She's dealing with her husband Vision. Like, it's a good show so far. I enjoy it. I look forward to seeing what's happening. But at the same time, we could point out something like this. We can notice how there's a male-female dynamic. We can notice this trend in the Marvel movies. There was a girl power moment in the last event.
I just want to be real with you. Watching that show, not even once did I think, oh yeah, I love the gender dynamics of this show. Now that you mention it, I do. I like that it's a show that's just like, it happens to involve a lot of like strong female characters, strong women with really good performances. Like, that's great. I hadn't even really considered that, though, because that's not really what the themes of the show are about. I think that's wonderful. This is a great way to do inclusiveness. Certainly, you should also have stories that are about, like, that struggle of how it's different growing up, like, as like, a woman or whatever. That's fine. That's great. I think Captain Marvel did that. But, like, this is also something that's great to do. It's just a really well put together show with cool... I don't want to say cool themes, but like resonant themes about grief with strong characterization, good scripts, like all the technical aspects were excellent. And they just happened to star like mostly women, not entirely women. There are still characters that are men. Vision certainly identifies as a man, and Wu again is great. But again, yeah, it's a lot of women in it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, what is his issue?
Avengers movie. Captain Marvel has been taking over the universe, as has Black Panther, for different reasons. And with that said, I think you guys get where this is going. It's not the end of the world, but I think it's worth pointing out. And I'd like to see what you guys think about this male-female dynamic on WandaVision too. So comment your thoughts below. Subscribe if you're new. Tell me what you think about Wanda, what you think about Vision, what you think about the show. And also, are you excited about other Marvel shows coming up? There's other ones coming up with Hawkeye, with Loki, with What If and Miss Marvel. There's also a Black Widow movie. There's also a Shang-Chi movie and the Eternals. And if you look at that lineup, you could kind of see the way Marvel is going. So tell
let's hold on. Let's see the way Marvel is going, shall we? Black Widow, again, starring one of the founding members of the Avengers. She happens to be a woman, so that's, I guess, bad. Shang-Chi, which is about a martial artist. I think he's... Is it Kung Fu? Is it Chinese? Like stuff? Is it China? Is he Chinese? I'm not sure. I don't know a ton about Shang-Chi. But he's, like, not white. He's an Asian person, so I guess No BS thinks that's an issue for some reason. I don't know why. I'm excited for Shang-Chi, because I like the Marvel movies. Thor Love and Thunder, which is going to have Thor, and also, what's her name? Padme. Jane Foster. Jane Foster's going to be Thor in that as well. Captain Marvel 2 is coming out. Of course it is. It's a sequel to one of the most profitable Marvel movies. Somehow No BS sees an issue with this. I guess because there's more diversity, even though, like, there's plenty of just, like, more white guy stuff. Loki's a white guy. That show looks like a lot of fun. Spider-Man's a white guy. I'm excited for Spider-Man 3. Hawkeye's a white guy. But, like, I don't understand why they're mad. Why is he mad? Why is he mad? Why is he mad, though? Did you guys see? Hold on. Did you guys see Natalie Portman on the Thor 3 set? She has gotten so goddamn jacked. Good for her. Holy hell. Look at this. Look at how jacked she is. Look at her, like, a couple years ago when they announced Thor Love and Thunder. And they announced she was going to be playing, you know, the Lady Thor from the comics. And then look at her now. God fucking damn it. Good for her. She must have worked so fucking hard. Thor 4. I'm sorry. It's not Thor 3. It's Thor 4. Apologies. Look at how goddamn in shape she got. That's bonkers. So if anyone's into strong ladies, prepare to have a crush on Natalie Portman in the next Thor movie. So yeah, that's his stupid opinion on WandaVision. I don't know why he's bitching.
Tell me what you think. Comment below. Hit the like button. And until next time, have a great day.
And everyone is just dunking on him. This is your Infinity War video all over again. Yeah. No wonder your vids get, like, no views anymore. Most of your content makes most sense. I assume it means no sense. Go back to 2016. Maybe then you'll be able to get your 12-year-old fan base back. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good to see No BS is ridiculous as usual. Okay. Let's do bit messages and then we'll call it an evening. Boom, roasted. I will save this. This is the vegan teacher. Oh no. Yeah, I'll save the vegan teacher. I don't even know what she should be under. I'll tentatively put her under Chuds, even though she's not really a Chud. She's like... I don't even know how to describe her. Okay, let me do bits messages and then we'll raid someone. She is a chud. She's like left-leaning though, ish. She doesn't really respect LGBT people even though she's like an LGBT person. It's very strange. Ghetto Kanya says, have to go watch the All-Star game with my significant other, just dropping some bits before I go. Thank you. Hoi Poloi, thanks for following. Mitchell Drummer with 20 bits says, okay guys, tell me, does No BS sound exactly like Jeremy to anyone else? Towing24 says, No BS thinks there are only two genders, men and political. Shiro the Blade, thanks for following. Magic Lad TY with 20 bits says, the only feminist message I could see them seeing in it is Agatha mentioning how society doesn't treat women like them well, but that was because of the witchcraft thing. Yeah, that's just true. Magenta, or manage to configure. Thank you for subscribing with 4 months. John Fallon 1, thanks for resubscribing with 6 months. Rublum with 245 bits says, you think No BS even pays attention to the show, or he's just looking for things to complain about? Based on that video, it sounds like he was looking for things to complain about. MW1642, thanks for the bits. John Fallon 1 with 500 bits. Hoi Poloi with 50. Pyromancer 56 with 100. Bat, Cow, and Goat, thanks for resubscribing. Bumble Homestead, thanks for gifting a sub. Wag Roads, thanks for the 100 bits. Wag Roads, thanks for gifting a sub. May I Pet Your Doggo, thanks for resubscribing with 6 months in a row. Hoi Poloi, thanks for subscribing. DM Trey with 55 bits says, Hype Train go burr. Doodle Burb, thanks for the 100 bits. This is just a side thing about the show, but I also like how they introduce Monica's Spectrum powers in the show too. I agree. I'm excited to see what Spectrum does in Captain Marvel 2. Hoi Poloi, thanks for 100 bits. Dad Buell, thanks for 20 bits, says No BS has the intellectual capability of a 10-year-old fibbing about their dad beating up someone else's dad. Wag Roads, thanks for 100 bits. Pyromancer, thanks for 56. Or, no, sorry. I always do that. Thanks for 100 bits. Rublum, thanks for gifting a sub. Oh, thanks for gifting a bunch of subs. Towing24, thanks for the 20 bits, says this is your brain on racism, kids. Enreath, thanks for the 100 bits. Makra3940, thanks for resubscribing. Hoi Poloi, thanks for the 20 bits. Pyromancer, thanks for gifting subs. Quiet185, thanks for 300 bits. Bitter Grin, thanks for 100 bits, says bits for the hype train and because I love WandaVision. Pyromancer says, how dare a guy be mind-controlled by a woman? Okay, Travis, thanks for resubscribing for 4 months, says, sweet, I just made the hype train. WTF4174, thanks for the 500 bits. Wag Roads with 100 bits says, excited for She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany was amazing in Orphan Black. I'm making my way through Orphan Black with Baja right now because it's one of her favorite shows, so that's cool. Who's the streamer I could raid to? Lyjin the Cobatroid. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Oh, I can't even hear what this person is saying.
So, Young Pharaoh, when he got mad about being a rapper, the reason I thought that was hilarious.
All right, have a good evening, everyone. Chat's valid. I gotta go edit this, and I gotta go walk 3 miles or something. So, I'll see you guys later. I'll check the link when the stream's over. Sume, thanks. What's tomorrow? Monday? I don't know if I'm streaming tomorrow. I got a bunch of shit I gotta catch up on. I gotta call a bunch of people, so we'll see. But if not, then I'll see you guys Tuesday. So until next time, have a wonderful evening.
day hop out with that chop, they yelling timber.